Honor to the Most High Yahweh and Yahushua HaMashiach. Go to John 5:39, and then I think Kings to look at Ahaziah. John 5:39. Search the scriptures, for in them you think you have eternal life, and they are they which testify of me. And you not come to me that you might have life. I receive not honor from men, but I know you, that you have not the love of Elohim in you. I come in my Father's name, and you receive me not. If another shall come in his own name, him you will receive. How can you believe which receive honor one of another, and seek not the honor that comes from Elohim only? And truth be told, for all that stuff we've been looking at, them kings, that's what they were doing. When Elijah or Elisha and them came in the name of Yah, they wouldn't receive them. But when somebody came in the name of Baal, they definitely got down with that. Let's go around here to, I think, 2 Chronicles. Let me make sure. Well, now, 2 Kings chapter 14. Let me make sure that's the dude we want. Let me make sure that's the dude we want. No, we want 2 Kings chapter 9, chapter 8. 2 Kings 8:25. We got a whole nother story to deal with, the massacre of the Baal worshippers. Almost forgot about that. That's been in the back of my mind when he told you about the time that he had the 7,000 that had not bowed the knee to Baal. And that's showing you that no matter what our people might think or how they might feel, and we still got to look at Jehu too. It ain't but a small amount that's been reserved. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can know you Israel all you wanna, but that don't mean you've been reserved. We've looked at things as it pertains to who has been reserved and who is not. You know what I'm saying? We've also went over where you can see the evidence in a person's behavior and how they move. So remember those things, ponder upon them. 2 Kings 8:25. In the 12th year of Joram, the son of Ahab, king of Yasharal, did Ahaziah, the son of Joram, king of Yehuda, begin to reign. 22 years old was Ahaziah when he began to reign, and he reigned 1 year in Jerusalem, and his mother's name was Athaliah, the daughter of Omri, the king of Yasharal. And he walked in the way of the house of Ahab, and did evil in the sight of Yahuwah, as did the house of Ahab, for he was the son-in-law of the house of Ahab. And he went with Joram, the son of Ahab, to war against Hazael, king of Syria, and Ramoth Gilead, and the Syrians wounded Joram. And King Joram went back to be healed in Jezreel of the wounds which the Syrians had given him at Ramah. And when he had fought against Hazael, king of Syria, and Ahaziah, the son of Joram, Malach of Yehuda, went down to see Joram, the son of Ahab, in Jezreel, because he was sick. Now, we got to sit back and look at Ahaziah going to get ready to lose his life. And this is what's going to bring us into looking at Jehu and all the things that go unto him. So we're going to look at chapter 9 and verse 1 and to see how that ends up and see what we get up out of that. Because you see, Joram gets wounded by the Syrians, and old Ahaziah wants to go holler at him. This is what he tell you, right? And Elisha the prophet called one of the children of the prophets and said unto him, Gird up thy loins, take this box of oil in thy hand, and go to Ramoth Gilead. And when thou come thither, look out there for Jehu the son of Jehoshaphat, the son of Nimshi, and go in and make him arise up from among his brethren, and carry him to an inner chamber. Then take the box of oil and pour it on his head, and say, Thus saith Yahuwah, I have anointed thee Malach over Yasharal. Then open the door and flee, and tarry not. So the young man, even the young man the prophet, went to Ramoth Gilead. And when he came, behold, the captains of the host were sitting, and he said, I have an errand to thee, O captain. Jehu said, Unto which of all of us? And he said, To thee, O captain. He arose and went into the house and poured the oil on his head and said unto him, Thus saith Yahuwah Elohim of Yasharal, I have anointed thee Malach over the people of Yahuwah, even over Yasharal. And thou shalt smite the house of Ahab thy master, that I may avenge the blood of my servants the prophets, and the blood of all the servants of Yahuwah at the hand of Jezebel. Now let's back up a little bit, because he said he's going to do this to avenge the blood. Let's go back over here to 1 Kings 17 real fast, just for a friendly reminder, so you can see what was going on. We might actually need 1 Kings 18 for that. 1 Kings 18 for that. You gotta always remember this here, right? And after this, Exodus 23, so you can see this in the law. Well, we have to go get it. He said he will not justify the wicked over the righteous. And that if you shed innocent blood, then blood has to be required at your hand. That blood is on the hand. So remember, he punishes to the third and fourth generation, and he had already, and we're going to go back and look at it, where he pronounced that judgment on Ahab. So you can see that, because we haven't really went into that. So we got to go ahead and knock it out this evening. 1 Kings 18 and 3. And Ahab called Obadiah, which was the governor of his house. Now Obadiah feared Yahuwah greatly. For it was so, when Jezebel cut off the prophets of Yahuwah, that Obadiah took 100 prophets and hid them 50 in a cave and fed them with bread and water. Now, when a man preaches the word, matter of fact, let's look at Revelation 18. When you preach the word, it causes, it's the same thing that we see in Acts 16, when they was like, hey, they tossed Paul and Barnabas out because they said they were teaching things that were not lawful for them to observe, being Romans, because they looked at, they were losing their gain from divination with them casting out that unclean spirit out that young woman. When it comes to certain things with the word will, condemn men and block the wicked things that they may be doing. And this is what moves people to want to take you out. You know what I'm saying? See, I've told y'all this before, but I'm going to reiterate it. People have a false conception that everyone's going to love you because you preach the word, and that you're going to be accepted, and that you're going to get all this adulation. But if you speak and thus saith Yahuwah according to what is written, then this is not going to actually have you well. We have to sit back and look at it. If preaching the word is going to make you so well received, why were all these men killed? You had to sit there. You got to really sit there and think about that. And everybody wants to jump up to do it. Do you know what I'm saying? But you're not realizing, like, you could be killed. Because if you saying it correctly, the chances of you being loved and accepted by many are small. Do you know what I'm saying? Most of the prophets were not accepted by the masses. They slayed the prophets regularly. Yasharal slayed everybody who was sent unto them. These men made a vow not to eat anything till they killed Paul. Do you realize how the level of deviousness that you got to have, how bad you want a man to die, that you swear to Yah that you're not going to eat nothing till you kill him? What was Paul doing other than preaching the word? You know what I'm saying? Do you think he would? The thing is that we thinking that, oh man, if we just do this or do this, that people going to accept it. You could be as gentle as you want to be, and if a nigga hate the word, they're going to reject it. You know what I'm saying? You could be as harsh as you want to be, and if a nigga hate the word, they're going to reject it. We know that from when the master told them they had to eat his flesh and drink his blood, and that no man could come unto him except the Father drawing. Men stopped walking with him. And how we got our minds formulated right here now in quote unquote July 2017, we couldn't fathom that somebody would literally stop walking with this man if they viewed him in the flesh. But people stopped walking with that man regularly. Many people rejected him. You know what I'm saying? So if we turn around and we look at it that we in quote unquote July 2017, and you got all these hundreds and thousands and hundreds of millions of people, whether they say that they believe they're Hebrew or not, say they believe and follow this man, but somebody got to be lying. You know what I'm saying? Because the book doesn't say that all these people are going to be saved. He said it's going to be a remnant. So all these people not getting in, so somebody is lying. Somebody don't really believe in that fashion. Somebody's not really walking it in that fashion. Somebody in the right situation and circumstance will kill those who were sent unto them for their good. Because you got to realize that the prophets, matter of fact, this is what I was talking to my cousin about. I'm going to work it like this here. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to do it just like this here. Hold on. Revelation 18. Where we at? 18 and 16. I'm going to show y'all something, right? Because I know we've been talking about some of the things just briefly, like encapsulated in the conversation about the love of Elohim. And now we're going to see another aspect of what the love of Elohim is. And it's probably the part of the love of Elohim that men hate the most. And they're saying, alas, alas, that great city that was clothed in fine linen and purple and scarlet and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls. For in 1 hour so great riches is come to naught, and every shipmaster and all the company and ships and sailors and as many as trade by sea stood afar off, and cried when they saw the smoke of her burning, saying, What city is like unto this great city? And they cast dust on their heads and cried, weeping and wailing, saying, Alas, alas, that great city wherein we were made rich, all that had ships in the sea by reason of her costliness. For in 1 hour she is made desolate. Rejoice over her, thou Shamahim, and ye Kadesh apostles and prophets, for Elohim have avenged you on her. Reason why we came to sit back and look at this here, and we could drop down to verse 24 too. And matter of fact, go get Jeremiah 51. I got to find the verse. The same way that he sending Jehu to take Ahab out for shedding the blood of the prophets, he had to avenge their blood. And he's going to come back in the end, and he's going to avenge their blood again. You know what I'm saying? When you look at that verse in Revelation, when he say, Oh, Yahuwah Elohim Almighty, how long before you avenge our blood? And he told him to rest for a season, and he gave him white robes. And the only reason why, if I told you this numerous times, the only reason why it's not tangible in our minds, because nobody's being killed. So because you don't have a tangible reality in that, it doesn't comprehend, it doesn't register. Hello? Yeah, it doesn't register in your mind that people will die for this, that people will kill. But you should see that how people react when you say things and you point out that the word condemns their behavior, and people try to take it as. Now, don't get me wrong. Some people use the word as a weapon to belittle people and beat people down. Some people do that. You know what I'm saying? And that's unfortunate. But if used properly and correctly, what we're going to look at, the word is supposed to wound, then heal. Because it's going to cut you, then it's going to heal you at the same token. Like I said, it's a two-edged sword. It could cut you and it can heal you. It's the same sword that cuts you. Some healing balms will come through and suture that wound and bind it up. But the thing is that it hurts when you get that cut. And sometimes that hurt is so strong that you don't want that healing medicine, because you're too comfortable in the way that you're going, in the direction that you're going, to sit back and look at. That was love. Do you know what I'm saying? That's one of the aspects of the love of Elohim, which we finna see. That correction and that rebuke is love. You know what I'm saying? And people don't like that part of the love of Elohim. Because if you see this book, this man rebukes and chastises and corrects this people on numerous occasions because he loved them. You know what I'm saying? And we didn't want that love. We didn't see that as love. That's why we don't see it as love now when somebody corrects you, because you want to do what you want to do, so you get offended by it. You know what I'm saying? You think of somebody coming for you when 9 times out of 10 they just want the best for you. And we can't see that at the time when you doing something that you enjoy according to your flesh. That's carnal. You enjoy it. So you don't want to hear that. Your flesh don't want to hear that. Those that are of the flesh mind the things of the flesh. Therefore, those in the flesh can't please Elohim. So it doesn't register because you don't want it to register. But the blueness of the wound in the belly is for your healing if you allow it to happen. Nevertheless, verse 24 said, In her was found the blood of prophets and of Kadeshim and of all that was slain upon the earth. This is this great whore. The same way that all the blood of those prophets were found in Jezebel. Jeremiah 51, because she was killing these prophets. What was she killing them for? All they were doing was trying to get the children of Yasharal to return back to Yahuwah and not worship Baal. That's all they were doing. And what did Ahab do? Ahab allowed this woman, this strange woman, to kill his brethren. He allowed that to happen. You got to think about that. This woman ain't even of your stock and of your bloodline, and your brother sat back and allowed her to slaughter his own people by the bundles. Didn't bother him in the least bit. See, the thing that we get is that the next time you see yourself, if somebody tell you something that you doing, this is Jeremiah 51 and all. Where's the verse at? I'm looking right at it too, and I know I am. Yeah, I was looking right at it. Jeremiah 51 and 44, I suppose. You catch yourself maybe getting angry or frustrated because somebody's telling you something that you doing is wrong according to. Now I'm gonna tell you something, right? The book tell you, man, first admonition, second admonition, third admonition, reject. You ain't got the book also tell you in Matthew 10 that they don't want to receive the word of your testimony, dust your feet off of them. That's what he was telling the apostles. So you have to sit back and realize something. You don't have to keep telling a person the same thing over and over and over and over and over and over again. You know what I'm saying? If you done told them once, you done told them twice, you done told them 3 times, man, you can let that go. But if you done told them and it's apparent that they have no desire to hear what you're saying, then you let that go. I don't know why people feel like, because people say you're forcing your beliefs on me. Y'all does not operate on that. You ain't got to keep coming at somebody to get them to do something. If they want to do it, they going to do it. If they don't do it, it's because clearly they didn't want to do it. And you telling them that over and over again, it's not going to get them to do it. It's only going to embolden them and harden their heart to continue in the pathway that they're going. You know what I'm saying? Yah steady sending prophets to the people was not to beat you across the head with it. It's because he had love and compassion on you. He had no desire to destroy you. That's the long suffering. What people call grace period, that's long suffering. That's taking injury with patience. And we have to learn that that is an attribute of Elohim, and that is an attribute of the love of Elohim, is to have long patience with somebody even when they're doing you wrong. That you can still be kind, merciful towards them even if they're wronging you. Because that's what David did. That's what Amashiach did. And numerous other men. That's the attributes of manifesting the love of Elohim. Just like we told y'all, right? We did this a long time ago. That Matthew 23 and 23, when he say, you tithe the mint, the anise, and the cumin, but omit the weightier matters of the law, judgment, mercy, and faith. In another gospel, it say the love of Elohim. See, dudes scream the love of Elohim, but how many of them really go in it and dissect it bit by bit for the people to understand how to exemplify it? Most people who saying the love of Elohim are flawed and fake. It's surface love. They really don't care about you. You know what I'm saying? They really don't care nothing about you. They just want you to think that you love them and say, look, I had a love of God, but it's phony. Do you know what I'm saying? Because there is no long suffering and mercy. How many niggas walk around here and hear stuff by people and then go with that? Don't even know the nigga. Do you know what I'm saying? That's not the love of Elohim. Y'all don't operate like that. He doesn't operate like that. Do you know what I'm saying? He's not finna sit here and listen. He ain't finna sit here and let's put it this way. He could have sat there and listened to Og of Bashan and the king of Moab slander Yasharal and went for it. Even though he already knew Yasharal, he could have went for it. He didn't know. He didn't know. Do you know what I'm saying? When you sit back and you really identify all the attributes of Elohim, which is the manifestation of the love of Elohim, most people don't know it. It's very few people that if somebody did them wrong, they could have the mercy to forgive them and deal with them. Because see, we want y'all to forgive us and deal with us, but we don't want to forgive somebody and deal with them. Or if you forgive them, you don't want to deal with them. I ain't say you got to be buddy and like this here and that and the third. Because if you don't fool with somebody, you don't fool with somebody. It ain't no need to be phony with it. But you can still have an amicable relationship and deal with them in an adult and a mature fashion, even if you don't particularly care to be in their company. Do you know what I'm saying? And I know there's a lot of people in the world, they don't really love each other like that. They say it's love of convenience. Once that convenience run out, I don't fool with you no more. You know what I'm saying? That's not godly. You know what I'm saying? If people don't call me, man, I still love you, I can't fool with you in the capacity that it was before. You know what I'm saying? You can't never go back to what that was. That can't be recreated. You know what I'm saying? I still got love. If you hit me up and boy, you need something, I got you. You know what I'm talking about? If a nigga come mess with your people and boy, we got to mash out on them, we'll mash out on them. But the level of what a relationship was, it can never go back to that. You know what I'm saying? Because when somebody do you like that, boy, that hurt lasts for a long period of time. If you really dealt with them and you really loved them and you really cared about them. If somebody you cared about did something to you, or a situation went down and that junk didn't bother you for an extended period of time, well, you ain't really love and care about that person. You know what I'm saying? That relationship wasn't really meaningful to you. Nevertheless, Jeremiah 51 and 44. I'll make it 43. Her cities are a desolation, a dry land in the wilderness, a land wherein no man dwell, neither doth any son of man pass thereby. And I will punish Baal in Babylon and bring forth out of his mouth that which he swallowed up. And the nation shall not flow together any more unto him. Yea, the wall of Babylon shall fall. My people, go ye out the midst of her, and deliver ye every man his soul from the fierce anger of Yahuwah. Lest your heart faint, and you fear for the rumor that shall be heard in the land. A rumor shall come both 1 year, and after that in another year. shall come a rumor, and violence in the land, and ruler against ruler. You see where the master get that statement from, you know what I'm saying? Kingdom against kingdom, and wars and rumors of wars. He ain't doing nothing but tell you what's in the script. It's funny how so many dudes say they know the script so well and don't even know when this man was dropping script because they don't really know it. He said, therefore, behold, the days come that I will do judgment upon the graven images of Babylon, and the whole land shall be confounded, and all her slain shall fall in the midst of her. Then shall Mahim and their rats and all that is therein shall sing for Babylon, which that's in Revelation, we just didn't read it. For the spoiler shall come unto her from the north, saith Yahuwah. As Babylon have caused the slain of Yasharal to fall, so at Babylon shall fall all the slain of all their rats. So it's the same way that Jezebel and Ahab called the prophets to fall. He got to cause them to fall, and not only them, but their seed. You got to understand something, right? When that man say, "Touch not my anointed, and do my prophets no harm," that's exactly what that man meant. You know what I'm saying? And if you touch him, he'll see you when he get ready. See, our problem is we want to put Yah on our time. Whether it's, oh, you want this or you want that, you want a new job, or you want a spiritual gift, or you want a wife, or you want a, whatever it is you want, a husband, you know what I'm saying, children. You want to put them on your time clock. That man move when he get ready. And I think the biggest thing that we try to do is we try to conform people. The book tell you can't make straight what he has made crooked. But if you see this man that made a nigga crooked, you got to go ahead and leave that man alone. Ain't nothing you can do about that. I don't know why we think we can do Yah's job for him. You cannot open a man's heart to receive the word. Only Yah can do it. If he don't open them up, they're not going to get it. And there's nothing that you can do about it other than mourn for him and keep it moving. You know what I'm saying? Just keep it moving. Ain't nothing you can do. We don't went over this. You don't want to roll away your works, then he's not going to establish your thoughts to him. You want to roll away the sin off your mortal body and roll away that flesh and be a new creature in Yahushua HaMashiach. He'll commit your thoughts to establishing yourself to the word. You know what I'm saying? And if you committing your thoughts to him or rolling away your thoughts, that means you are consistently applying what you are learning. If you're not consistently applying what you learning of the word or anything else, you really need to sit down and ask yourself, how bad and determined are you to be successful? You know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, it ain't nothing but determination and perseverance and drive and hunger. This is the reason why the book say what it say. Matter of fact, get this Jeremiah 16 and 15. Might be 15 and 16. Hold on, let me see. This doggone phone. Always trying to upload some pictures, man. No, we don't want to upload no pictures. Yeah, Jeremiah 15 and 16. Make it 14. Jeremiah 15 and 14. At the end of the day, your desire should be to enter into the gates of the city, whether you wake or whether you be asleep. And that if you go to sleep before some of us go to sleep, that you know that I'll see your face when I wake up. 15 and 14, Jeremiah, right? We'll make it about 12 though. Make it 11. He said, Yahuwah said, truly it shall be well with thy remedy. Truly I will cause the enemy to entreat thee well in the time of evil and in the time of affliction. Shall iron break the northern iron and the steel? Thy substance and thy treasures will I give to the spoil without price, and that for all thy sins, even in all thy borders. And I will make thee to pass with thy enemies into a land which thou know not, for a fire is kindled in my anger, which shall burn upon you. O Yahuwah, thou know and remember me, and visit me, and revenge me of my persecutors. Take me not away in thy long suffering. Know that for thy sake I have suffered rebuke. Now I pray the Lamb. Direct us right where we need to go. And thy words were found, and I did eat them. And thy word was unto me the rejoicing, joy and rejoicing of my heart, for I am called by thy name, O Yahuwah Elohim of hosts. I sat not in the assembly of mockers, nor rejoiced. I sat alone because of thy hand, for thou hast filled me with thine indignation. Why is my pain perpetual and my wound incurable, which refuse to be healed? Will thou altogether be unto me as a liar, as waters that fail? Therefore thus saith Yahuwah, if thou return, then I will bring thee again, and thou shalt stand before me. And if thou take forth the precious from the vial, thou shalt be as my mouth, and let them return unto thee, but return not unto them. And I will make thee unto this people a fence, brazen wall, and they shall fight against thee, but they shall not prevail against thee. For I am with thee to save thee and to deliver thee, saith Yahuwah. And I will deliver thee out of the hand of the wicked, and I will redeem thee out of the hand of the terrible. Now, there was a lot that we just went through in that, and we're going to have to go through every last bit of it. And we would be remiss if we did not. So when he says that he'll cause the enemy to entreat thee well in the time of evil, in the time of the affliction, just for time's sake. And you could go back and read it for yourself. You should know what he places at. This is when Pilate and his wife, because the entreat is to, let's just pull the proper word out and not say it incorrectly. To entreat somebody is to seek after him, to have a little kindness on him. And that's what Pilate was doing. Because you have to realize, son, the time going to come where your enemies may get a hold of you. That's why he say, don't fear them that could kill the body, but fear him that could kill the soul and cast the body and soul into hell. I said, fear him. When we look at this Hebrew word for entreat, it's pagah, and that's to encounter, to entreat a request, or to meet of kindness. And we know that Pilate came with a lot of kindness to the master when the master was in the midst of his enemies, in the time of his evil, in the time of his affliction. Because when he was getting ready to go up there on that stake, that was the time of evil and it was time of affliction. And Pilate was kind to him because Pilate was trying to let him go. The book tells you, when your ways please Yahuwah, even he make your enemies to be at peace with you. And there can be times where you can be in a time of evil. It's the same way that there were people who were entreated Joseph in this time of evil, in this time of affliction, and were kind to him. This man will send somebody to have a little bit of kindness on you in your suffering. It's many examples of that. Jonathan did it with David. Hamashiach had examples of that, whether it was with the Malachim, like I said, with Pilate, with Simon the Cyrene bearing the stake for him. You got to pay attention to that. He's not going to leave you alone. He's not just going to let you just lay out there just like he's not there. He says, shall iron break the northern iron and the steel? But this is what he says, thy substance and thy treasures will I give to a spoil without price, and that for all thy sins and all thy borders. So he said, your substance and your treasures. Now let's look at something in Proverbs chapter 8 before we go to looking at it. Try to get a general idea to deal with what his substance and his treasures are. Because he said you're going to do it without price. Remember, Isaiah told you that you sold yourself for naught, but you shall be redeemed without money. He told you the same thing in another place in Isaiah, to come buy wine and milk without price. These things and we're going to pray the Lamb. The substance and the treasures that you could get from Elohim, you ain't even got to pay for it. You ain't even got to pay for it. And he sat back and he told you right here, as he said, right? He said, for all thy sins, even in all thy borders, in verse 14, so he'll make his enemies come to you a land which you don't know. And that fire kindled in his anger. Remember, he told you in Luke chapter 12, he said, I have a baptism to be baptized with, and what will I if that fire has already been kindled? Which goes back to what's in Deuteronomy 32 and 22, when he tell you about that they've kindled a fire in him that will burn to the lowest hell. It's just that furnace of affliction. And you have to realize that was the affliction that the prophets went through, that Jezebel killed. And this stuff is to make you purified at the end, so you can be like the men we mentioned in Revelation. Let me give you these white robes and rest for a little season. To the rest of your brethren, the prophets are killed as you are. And we still got to deal with the rebuke part. Praise the Lamb. He's working our way through it. Praise y'all. We're going to get to it one way or another, if he so choose. 8 and about verse 13. Proverbs 8 and 13. We might not get to Ezekiel 16 tonight. I might deal with it when we're in person. Counsel is mine and sound wisdom. I'm sorry, I said 13. The fear of Yahuwah is to hate evil. If you have that reverence and honor and respect for Yah, you should hate all evil of all kinds. Pride and arrogancy in the evil way and the froward mouth do I hate. Remember, froward is rebelliously contrary. But we'll pull the Hebrew word up for this on general principle. Rebelliously contrary. That's what it means in English anyway. When we look at that word froward, it's tapuka, and it's a perverse thing. Perverted. And we know that many people are and when you look at a perverted mouth is, let's sit back. People who tell lies, people who say, not perverted, not in the sense of a sexual deviant, but that pervert words of righteousness. Like the scribes and the Pharisees did. They perverted words. You know what I'm saying? That's why he say if you call gain godliness. Matter of fact, look at Matthew 15 as an example of a froward mouth. Matthew 15 for an example of a froward mouth. (15 and 3). 15 and 3. Matthew 15 and 3. It said, but he answered and said, why do you also transgress the commandment of Elohim? By your tradition. For Elohim commanded, saying, honor thy father and mother, and he that curse father and mother, let him die the death. But ye say, whoever sashay to his father or his mother, it is a gift, by whatsoever thou might be profited by me, and honor not his father or his mother, he shall be free. Thus have you made the commandment of Elohim of none effect by your traditions. Ye hypocrites, well did Yeshayahu prophesy of you, saying. That right there is an example of a froward mouth. They perverted the words of the righteous. They perverted the words of the book to justify something that they wanted. And that's what people do. And that's a froward mouth. And if you had the fear of Yahuwah, you would hate that. Come on back to Proverbs chapter 8. You got to hate the evil way. Got to hate the way that the wicked go. Man, the book tell you, blessed is he that don't go in the way of sinners. So you got to look at that. We're in verse 14. Counsel is mine, sound wisdom. I am understanding. I have strength. By me kings reign and princes decree justice. By me princes rule and nobles, even all the judges of the earth. I love them that love me. And those that seek me early shall find me. Riches and honor are with me, yea, durable riches and righteousness. My fruit is better than gold, yea, than fine gold, and my revenue than choice silver. I lead in the way of righteousness in the midst of the paths of judgment, that I may cause those that love me to inherit substance, and I will fill their treasures. Now remember what we just looked at in Jeremiah. Jeremiah 15 tells us how he said that substance and that treasures will he give to spoil without price. The spoil is to take. But let's make sure we pull the right word now. We don't want to quote him wrong. Better to be thorough with it than to be haphazard. When we look at spoil, the word is baz, and that's booty or a robbery. So let's look at something in Philippians chapter 2 and verse 5. And after that, 2 Corinthians chapter 8. Well, no, don't worry about 2 Corinthians chapter 8. Hello? Hello? Philippians 2 and 5. Let this mind be in you, which was also in Yahushua HaMashiach, who being in the form of Elohim, thought it not robbery to be equal with Elohim. Now, if he's going to spoil you of all these treasures, where we at? Verse 13. That he said he'll give to a spoil without a price. Now, we're going to look at something as we look at that. Let's go to 1 Peter chapter 1 instead, and then 1 Corinthians chapter 12. Because remember, 2 Corinthians 8 tell you how the master made himself poor that we might be made rich. And that basically we're spoiling him for treasures and substance. And we didn't have to pay anything for it. He paid the price for you to spoil him. For lack of a better term. But the things that we spoil in him are the treasures that are mentioned in Proverbs chapter 8. A thing that you would want to plunder. 1 and 16. 1 Peter. Because it is written, be ye Kadesh, for I am Kadesh. And if you call on the Father, who without respect of persons judge according to every man's work, pass the time of your sojourning here in fear. For as much as you know that you were not redeemed with corruptible things as silver and gold from your vain behavior received by tradition from your fathers, but with the precious blood of Mashiach, as of a lamb without blemish and without spot, who truly was foreordained before the foundation of the world, but was manifest in these last times for you, who by him do believe in Elohim, that raised him up from the dead and gave him esteem, that your faith and hope might be in Elohim. At the end of the day, and I think this is what stuff get twisted. You know what I'm saying? I know I've always made a conscious effort that for you to know that your faith and hope is supposed to be in the Most High. I know a lot of times dudes make it seem like their faith and hope be in men. You know what I'm saying? And it really be how the men which goes to that froward mouth, perverting the word to direct honor, esteem unto themselves. You know what I'm saying? Because Peter told the elders for them not to rule over the master's heritage. You know what I'm saying? Not the Lord over them. You know what I'm talking about? Because ain't nowhere in the world that anybody who preached the word that a man would fear them. You know what I'm saying? I'm talking about, you would have respect for him, but I'm talking about fear him. You're not supposed to fear no man. You know what I'm saying? Not when this man told you, You all are brethren in Mashiach. Ain't nowhere in the world you supposed to fear no man. You supposed to fear the man whose word they're preaching. But most individuals make it to where niggas fear that man. You know what I'm saying? That's why dudes always talk about them camps. Or a nigga can't do nothing unless the elders say this and elders say that. You know what I'm saying? I can't speak to none of that because I ain't never been in them situations. You know what I'm talking about? I know in the street they say, you know, it's better to be feared than loved. You know what I'm saying? Because the fear lasts longer. People want people to fear them because you can control them more than if people love you. You know what I'm saying? When people love you, they kind of take you for granted. That's what we done did with y'all. We take him for granted. You know what I'm saying? You feel like he gonna love you no matter what you do. It ain't gonna make no difference. But when people fear, when somebody in around the way a nigga fear him, they don't take him for granted because they fear the retribution that this person can lay upon their head. They fear that levy of wrath. And that goes back to hating the evil way, the pride and the arrogancy, because nobody who was preaching this word, who was sent by Yah, that was a righteous man, moved in that fashion where the people feared them. The people feared Hamashiach, but he was the son of Elohim. They were supposed to. Nobody feared David. The only thing they feared is that he could execute judgment. That's what they feared. He had the authority and power to do that, same as Solomon did. That's what they would fear. They didn't fear that individual. That's just not supposed to happen. But it happens every day, though. I forgot where I was going after that. Come on back to Jeremiah. 1 Corinthians chapter 12. That's where I was going. Let's look at that substance and those treasures. The master told you that if you haven't been faithful in the unrighteous mammon, who will commit to your trust the true riches? A lot of us want the riches and the treasure and the substance of Elohim, but you got to be faithful. And to be faithful, you got to be consistent. And to be consistent, you have to be driven. And to be driven, you have to be diligent. That man say, see a man diligent in his labor, he'll stand before kings. This man is not going to give you that substance and that treasure, which truly is yours. Because it's the Father's good pleasure to give it to you if you're not consistently applying yourself to be. He's not going to trust you with it. Man told you a steward must be found faithful. If you're not faithful, why would you expect that man to give you that? That's the same way. Why would you expect a woman to give you her love, her honor, and her submission, and you're not faithful and consistent in your service to her? Because we done already went over that. A man supposed to serve his wife, and his wife supposed to serve that man, just like Hamashiach served his wife, and his wife served him. That way there would be no clutching. See, that ain't even really taught. These niggas don't even teach no man that he's supposed to serve his wife. That's the love of Elohim. You supposed to serve your wife. That's what the master did. That's what the master did. Everything that we do is supposed to be. That's why you say on earth as it is in Shamahim. Everything that we supposed to do is supposed to be a representation of the things that are in the set apart tabernacle on high. They supposed to see the manifestation of the things on high, on earth through us. That they would actually see Elohim. And ain't nobody really telling nobody that. Now, we're going to tell you, we had a conversation, dude was like, yeah, man, maybe brothers ain't got the tools to stop doing what they doing. But niggas do got the tools. I could give somebody, if they ain't heard no word, nah, you ain't got the tools, so you screwed till you get the tools. But then if a nigga got the tools, ain't no fancies, nigga just don't want to do right. Let's just call it what it is and let's just be real. If I give you all the tools to build a house, I show you how to build a house, which is what you doing with the word, because you tearing down your old house and you're building a new house in the Mashiach, and you shown the pattern, just like he told Moses, build it according to the pattern I showed you in the mount. You seeing Hamashiach throughout the text, so that's the pattern. You're getting the tools to how to build that house, and you choose not to build it, it's because that's not what you wanted to do. You know what I'm saying? We make too many excuses for niggas. Just be real. Some people wicked, man, and it is what it is, man. I don't care how much you say you love y'all and all that. Your ancestors screamed they love y'all and was wicked as the day is long. You know what I'm saying? Didn't trust him, didn't believe him, didn't hope in him, didn't have none of that. You know what I mean? Hello? Hello? So think about that. Weigh that out in your brain. You know what I'm saying? All them people sat down, heard this man preach, and walked away. That man said he already knew who believed and who didn't. He already knew these niggas were going to walk away. He already knew it. And they was walking with him every day. Boy, I love, that be dropping some word, boy. You know what I'm saying? They wasn't there but probably for the miracles. Or just to say they were a part of something. But when you had to take a stand and you had to really apply something and be strong in what you were doing, nigga was like, no, I don't want to do that. They didn't want to do that. Man, Judas had the tools. He did what he did. You think if you walking with a martial you ain't got the tools? You got the tools. Didn't want to use them. If you get in the word, you got the tools to save your soul. Got to use them. You don't use them, that's on you. That's on you. At the end of the day, if your soul don't get saved and you heard the word, that is on you. That's on you. You can't blame nobody else for that. I'm talking about that again. Like, let me reiterate. If you've heard the word in truth, what you gonna do with that? Even if the nigga who get it to you wicked, if the word, it still ain't gonna matter. The word true, it don't matter if that nigga wicked. Because the master told you that. He said, hey man, scribes and Pharisees, man, don't do as they do. Everything they tell you to do out of their book, do, but don't do after their works. Them niggas may be wicked. That don't change the fact that his book true though. Everything they tell you out their book, right. You better do what the book say. I ain't got nothing to do with them niggas there. Them niggas wicked. The book still right. You ain't gonna be like, well shoot, them niggas wicked, so I ain't gonna get chastised for it. The word is still correct. It don't matter if it came out the word of a wicked man. That word still, if a wicked nigga come up and tell you it's wrong to be a homosexual, that make that word right. He may not be right. That word was right though. And you'll be accountable for that. So if you done heard the word, it's on you to save yourself. You supposed to take them tools and you supposed to tear down that old house and build a new one. So why are you not building a new house? Why you still want to have that same raggedy structure, the window boarded up, the roof got a hole in it? You know what I'm saying? You need new plumbing, you need new electricity, and you going to sit there and live in that raggedy toe down house. Rats in it, moths, stink, and you want to live in that house instead of just tearing it down and building a magnificent house, a beautiful house, a strong house. Why would you not do that? What's the reason for staying in this rundown, condemned house? Because if you in this flesh, you're in a condemned house. You're going to die. That's why he say to take the precious from the vial. You're going to die, and you're going to stay in that house? That makes no sense to me at all. 1 Corinthians chapter 12. Let's look at the substance and the treasures. We'll break it down and we'll pick up at about verse 7. But the manifestation of the Ruach is given to every man to profit withal. For one is given by the Ruach the word of wisdom, and to another the word of knowledge by the same Ruach. To another faith by the same Ruach. To another the gifts of healing by the same Ruach. To another the working of miracles. To another prophecy. To another discerning of Ruach. To another diverse kind of tongues. And to another the interpretation of tongues. Hey. But all these work that one and self-same Ruach, dividing to every man severally as he will. For as the body is one and have many members, and all the members of that one body, being many, are one body, so also is Mashiach. Now this man sat back and said, I done took all these spoils that you could get without price, because you ain't got to pay for them. Come over to Acts chapter 8 for that. He say, and that for all thy sins and in all thy borders, he'll make you pass through your enemies and to kindle that fire. That anger and that many things that this man suffered, that rebuke that he suffered, was for you to be able to spoil him of all his treasure and substance, and you didn't even have to pay for it. And Acts chapter 8 gonna show you that. You ain't have to pay for it. You ain't got to pay a dime. The only thing you got to pay is to lay your life down as he laid his down. And you can get substance and treasures beyond compare that no man can give unto you. But nigga don't want to do that. Because that'll take something. That'll take conviction. That'll take courage. Acts chapter 8. About verse 13. Actually verse 9. To show you that this come without a price. You ain't got to pay for it. Just like Isaiah told you. But there was a certain man called Simon, which before time in the city used sorcery, and bewitched the people of Samaria, giving out himself with some great one. To whom they all gave heed from the least to the greatest, saying, this man is the great power of Elohim. And to him they had regard, because of long time he had bewitched them with sorceries. Now you sit back and look at it, to bewitching, to influence with rebellion. Because this man influenced the people to rebel. But when they believed Philip preaching the things concerning the kingdom of Elohim in the name of Yahushua HaMashiach, they were immersed, both men and women. Then Simon himself believed also, and when he was immersed, he continued with Philip and wondered, beholding the miracles and signs which were done. Now when the apostles which were at Jerusalem heard that Samaria had received the word of Elohim, they sent unto them Peter and John, who when they were come down prayed for them that they might receive the Ruach HaKodesh. For as yet he was fallen upon none of them, only they were immersed in the name of the Master Yahusha, and then laid their hands on them, and they received the Ruach HaKodesh. And when Simon saw that through the laying on of the apostles' hands the Ruach HaKodesh was given, he offered them money, saying, give me also this power, that on whomsoever I lay hands, he may receive the Ruach HaKodesh. But Peter said unto him, thy money perish with thee, because thou hast thought the gift of Elohim may be purchased with money. Thou hast neither part nor lot in this matter, for thy heart is not right in the sight of Elohim. Repent therefore of this thy wickedness, and pray Elohim, if perhaps the thought of thy heart may be forgiven thee. For I perceive that thou art in the gall of bitterness and in the bond of iniquity. So this man thought he could purchase what is free. See, you can't buy the Ruach HaKodesh. It's free. It only going to cost you but one thing, and that's your life. That's all it's going to cost you. That's all you got to pay with it. That's what the master paid for it, and that's all you got to pay for it. He already paid for it with his blood. All you got to do is let that blood cover you by laying your life down in him and him dwelling in you and you dwelling in him. Ain't going to cost you nothing. You ain't got to give up no cash. You ain't got to lose nothing but to lay your life down and to live for Yah. That's all you got to do. That's all you got to do. And this man will allow you to plunder and spoil and rob him of all his substance and treasure, because he done already been afflicted for your sins. For your sins, not his sins, your sins. See, again, we mentioned the love of Elohim. Like I said, I was talking to my cousin about this. I guess we'll go ahead and do it now. Deuteronomy 8, Proverbs 3, Hebrew 12, Revelation 3. This stuff is basic. Y'all should already know it. But, oh yeah, Leviticus 19. Let's look at Leviticus 19 first. This is an aspect and the showing of the love of Elohim. You can't tell me you got the love of Elohim and you won't do what this man, because with the rebuke is to cause death not to rest upon a man. Just to be dead honest with you, according to what the law states. That's why when he say he kindled a fire in his anger for your sins, he was taking his rebuke to deliver you from sin. That's how much he loved you. You love your brother. You wouldn't want him to sin. You wouldn't want him to die. If your brother was sitting there with a pistol to his head finna shoot himself, you'll try to talk him out of it. But you see a nigga committing sin and won't say a word. You be like, shoot, that's his life. That's just horrible. Leviticus 19 and 17. Thou shalt not hate thy brother in thy heart. Thou shalt anywise rebuke thy neighbor and not suffer sin upon him. He said you should not hate your brother in your heart, but that you ought to correct your neighbor so that sin don't fall on him. Now let's look at two things before we go any further. Ezekiel chapter 18 and Romans chapter 6. Ezekiel chapter 18 and Romans chapter 6. That man say he say rebuke your neighbor to not suffer sin on him. I know we done went off a little bit from those kings there, but it's 9:47, so y'all willing we get back around in a minute. Ezekiel 18, right? And verse 1. The word of Yahuwah came unto me again, saying, what mean ye that ye use this proverb concerning the land of Yasharal, saying, the fathers have eaten sour grapes, and the children's teeth are set on edge? As I live, saith Yahuwah Elohim, you shall not have any occasion any more to use this proverb in Yasharal. Behold, all souls are mine. As the soul of the Father, so also the soul of the Son is mine. The soul that sin, it shall die. So, if you love your brother and you know that the soul that sin, it shall die, and the book say rebuke thy neighbor to not allow sin upon him, then we can see that the purpose of correction is because you love them. Yah was correcting and rebuking because he loves you. So because he loves you, he doesn't want you to die. And we don't even have that understanding because you don't have the thought of that sin slays you. After we read the Romans 6, I guess we could slide right to Romans 7 where Paul tell you that. We don't have that concept because dudes sit back and look at it. It ain't my place to say. And that's why people make excuses for niggas when they do. If you wrong, you wrong, man. It is what it is. What you gonna do about it, though? 6 and 16, man. Romans 6 and 16. Know ye not that to whom ye yield your servants to obey, his servants ye are to whom you obey, whether of sin unto death or obedience unto righteousness? If you obey sin, you die. So you supposed to rebuke your neighbor so he doesn't die. Like I said, you wouldn't watch your brother overdose on pills if you could stop him. You wouldn't sit there and watch him shoot himself or hang himself. You're going to try to stop him. But you see niggas living in sin and committing sin, and you don't rebuke them, you don't correct them, because you don't want a nigga to be mad with you or upset with you. Man, screw that nigga feelings. He the one wrong. If you love him, you gonna tell him. But you know, that's if you got knowledge of it, like direct knowledge. Because you can't rebuke somebody of something you don't have direct knowledge of. See what I'm saying? It's not always good to be going on second and third hand information to go rebuke a nigga on something, because a nigga could be lying. You know what I'm saying? You may not know. You can ask them about it, but you may not know. But if you got direct knowledge, you're supposed to go ahead and let them know that. If you have direct knowledge, you know this is what's happening. And if you feel like it's happening, there's nothing wrong with you asking, is this what you got going on? Like what you got going on. Try to pull it up out of them. Because you can usually tell that somebody doing something they ain't got no business if you don't have direct knowledge and you try to pull it out of them, because they get kind of defensive or they clam up. Certain body language cues give it away. He said, but Elohim be thanked that you were the servants of sin, but that you obeyed from the heart that form of doctrine which was delivered you. Being then made free from sin, you became the servants of righteousness. I speak after the manner of men, because of the infirmity of your flesh. For as you have yielded your member servants to uncleanliness and to iniquity, even so now yield your member servants to righteousness unto Kadash. For when you were the servants of sin, you were free from righteousness. This is why you need to rebuke you, because if they're a servant of sin, they can't be in righteousness. You can't have it. This is why he loved you enough to rebuke you. This is why he said he kindled that fire so you could spoil his son for all his treasures and all his substance. This man gave everything that he had. He poured himself out to give you everything that he had. And you ain't got to give him nothing but your life. That's all he asking for you, is to lay your life down. He said, he that hateth his life shall save it. All you got to do is lay your life down. That's all you got to do. And that is not difficult. You know what I'm saying? Let's just go and be honest with it. Because I seen the brother say, yeah, man, it's difficult walking in Torah. No, it is not. The reason why I say it's not, nothing is difficult if that's what you want to do. Whatever tribulations or afflictions or obstacles that come in the way, they're not going to deter you, because you're going to persevere through it, because that's what you want to do. It may not be a smooth road, but it's not difficult in the aspect of it's hard to do. You just have hardships while you're doing it. It's not hard to do. You just have hardships. And if you are a person of character, or you have some mental toughness or a strong mind, then you will fight through it. If you don't have mental toughness, or you have a weak mind, then you will fold under the pressure and you won't complete the task, and you'll fall off to the wayside. Do you know what I'm saying? And the reason why that's going to happen, because you really don't have a trust and hope in Elohim. And that goes with anything in your life, period. There's nothing in life that is difficult if that's what you want to do. You just might have some hardships. Just might have some obstacles. And all those obstacles and hardships it's just to see how bad you want it. Because if you want it, you're going to persevere through it. It's not going to stop you. You're not going to be like, oh man, this came up, I guess I better quit. I ain't going to be able to get it done. You're going to figure out how to get it done in the midst of that. If I got to climb over this wall, kick this wall down, whatever I got to do, but I'm going to get over this obstacle. I'm going to overcome that. You didn't see the master do that. He said, I've overcome the world. There were obstacles and there were tribulations and there was afflictions. He endured through that because his desire was to complete the task. Nothing was going to stop him from completing the task. So the work itself wasn't hard. It just was hard in the midst of completing it, because this is what I want to do. A lot of people don't do stuff and complete stuff because it's not really what they want to do. If you want to do something, I don't care what you feel. You really love somebody, whether it's family or friends, and y'all got an issue, y'all going to work that out. If you really love them, you're just not going to be like, you're just not going to give up on that, because this is what you want to do. I care about the person. I'm not finna let my mama walk around here mad with me. I'm not going to have my brother or my friend around here mad with me. We're going to iron this out, because this is what I want to do. Nothing is going to stop this relationship from being smoothed over. We're not going out like this. A lot of people, when they friends and family, something come up and it's negative and they beefing whatever, they let that junk just slide and overtake them and be like, screw it. And they don't really want to come together with something until a nigga about to die or done died. Then you feeling bad, like, oh man. Because that ain't really what you want to do. You didn't really want to reconcile that. You didn't really want to fix that friendship. You didn't really want to do that. And you got to sit back and look at your friendship with Elohim is fractured because of sin. So you don't really want to fix that friendship because you're not willing to do what's necessary to reconcile yourself back to your friend. Because if that's what you want to do, you're going to do it. No matter how painful it is, no matter how difficult it might be, you're going to do that because that's what you want to do. And then you're going to realize on the other side, the resolve And the strength that you're going to see that you actually possess from doing something, you will realize it wasn't as hard as I thought it was because I was determined. Most people are not determined to accomplish anything. That's why they don't accomplish nothing. Just start stuff and put it down and go start something else and this, that, then the third, because that's what most people do. And when stuff get tough, they run from it. That's fear. What are you fearful of? What are you scared of? I don't even know what it is to be scared of the word. Like, what is to be scared of coming to Yah? Why would Yah scare you? What is coming to Yah scare? Only thing you scared of is you don't want to give yourself up. You like yourself. You like the things that are contrary to Yah. That's why you're holding on to them. That's why you're scared. Because you realize if you relinquish yourself, there's certain things that you have a desire and a pleasure to do that you can no longer do. You don't want to let it go. That's what you're scared of. Verse 21 though. What fruit had you in those things whereof you are now ashamed? For the end of those things is death. But now being made free from sin and become servants to Elohim, you have your fruit under Kadesh, and the end everlasting life, for the wages of sin is death. But the gift of Elohim is eternal life through Yahushua HaMashiach, our master. And now all I was going to read in Romans 7 with verse 11, where he say, sin by their commandment is slew him. Sin slays you. That's why he say, don't let the deceitfulness of sin harden your heart. Sin kills you. You don't feel like you're being killed because you're still breathing and you can feel your flesh still warm and you're still eating and you're still pooping and you're still running and you go do the things you like to do, but you don't realize you're dead. You're dead. There's death in you. And you don't want to remove. You know what crazy? Niggas so happy that I got to be vegan, I got to be healthy, I got to lift weights, I got to do this here. You want to be healthy physically, but you unhealthy spiritually. So what good is it to be healthy naturally and you unhealthy spiritually? That's why I'm still be tripping on these niggas talking about be vegan and spiritual. How? We know what the master said. It's not what go in a man that defile him, it's what come out. So you can be vegan all you want to. That don't make you spiritual, nigga. Not if your heart black. Not if your heart wicked. How we so focused on being healthy naturally and not healthy spiritually? You feel like you're going to live a long time naturally, but you're going to go to hell. You should have more focus. Nothing wrong with being healthy naturally. Nothing wrong. You want to be vegan? I'm not against that. Now you want to do that? Knock yourself out. I ain't mad at you. There ain't nothing wrong with eating right and exercising. None of that. You know what I'm talking about? Just understand the contrast of what I'm talking about. We put more weight on one thing that is not as important as the thing that we ought to put weight on. Because there's going to be some people who are unhealthy naturally who are going to enter into the kingdom of Elohim because they're healthy spiritually. That they eat cookies and cakes and hamburgers, fast food and all that, but they spirit right though. But they don't exercise or nothing. They gonna enter in, and you're gonna have people. They're gonna be physically fit and they eat well, and they're gonna burn in hell because their spirits weren't right. The book tell you that physical exercise profiteth little. There's a gain to it, but you need to exercise yourself spiritually. More important. That's more important. It's more important. Let me finish at Jeremiah 15 because we still got to hit this Ahab or his children. Where we at? Verse 15. He said, "You remember me, visit me, and revenge him of his persecutors." But that's the key thing. What we came at was verse 16 when he said his words were found and he did eat them and they were the joy and rejoicing of his heart. Now I told you the hunger and thirst after righteousness. He said, eat his flesh and drink his blood. You need to open your mouth wide and be filled with the word to be satiated and satisfied. He said, come buy wine and milk without price. You want to be satisfied? The man telling you what to do. All I am is a merchant. Say, buy the truth and sell it not. All we are is merchants. Anybody who preach the word ain't nothing but a merchant. All we doing is just selling a little word. Just selling a little word. I got you, Dap. Just selling a little word. You got to mute your phone, Dap. You got the echo. We just selling a little word. It's on you to buy it. And when you buying it, you're not buying it with price. You buying it with your heart, that you believe it and that you're going to hide it in your heart, that you may not sin against him, that your soul might be saved. To speed up the process, though, about the rebuking. You know what Deuteronomy chapter 8, right? Let's hit that real quick about verse 5. So we're trying to hit too many points at one time. And I got to knock them all out and move on. 8 and 5, right? I just want to tell you, thou shalt consider in thy heart as a man chasten his son, so Yahuwah thy Elohim chasten thee. Therefore thou shalt keep the commandments of Yahuwah thy Elohim to walk in his ways and fear him. This man chasten you and rebuke you for one cause and one cause only. The book say you're blessed, you're Baruch when Yah chastens you. See, that's a blessing for that to happen. Come on to Proverbs chapter 3 in the other place. And we'll just paraphrase Hebrew 12. Y'all know that Revelation 3 and 19 says, as many as I love, I chasten and rebuke. Therefore be zealous and repent. Yahushua is rebuking you. Yahuwah is rebuking you because they love you, because they don't want to suffer sin upon you. They don't hate you. It's not in his nature to hate you. He only hates you when you love what he hates, which is sin. Then he hates you. This man loved you enough that while you are showing him that you hate him to his face, that he loved you enough to rebuke you from that sin because he doesn't hate you. He said, I have no pleasure in the death of him that died, but you turn yourselves and live. Why will you die, O house of Yasharal? This man don't hate you. Somebody who's rebuking you of sin, they don't hate you, they love you. That's the love of Elohim. You can't tell niggas that though. Because to get corrected don't feel good when your flesh is holding on to things you want to do. So you rebel. Proverbs 3 and 11. My son, despise not the chastening of Yahuwah, neither be weary of his correction. For whom Yahuwah love, he correct, even as a father the son in whom he delight. That man told you in Hebrew chapter 12, right, that whomever he scourged, he received the sons, and whoever doesn't have chastening is not a son, but a bastard. So, hello? Hello?
Yeah, that's staying my phone.
Yeah, you good. So think about this, right? The book say, rebuke your neighbor, don't suffer sin upon him, don't hate him in your heart. He telling you this because Yah rebuked Yasharal so much. He was showing you how much he loved you. We don't look at it in that. We read that verse, but then we don't really look at that rebuke as literally being the attributes of the love of Elohim, because the rebuke is to cause you not to walk in sin so you don't die. That's it. The soul that sin, it shall die. So if I rebuke you to not allow sin upon you, I'm trying to save your soul from death. James chapter 5. That's it. Somebody who's correcting you of your sin is trying to save you from death. We don't look at it that way because you don't want nobody to tell you that you're wrong when it's something that you take great pleasure in doing. Verse 19, 5 and 19. That's what the problem is. You taking pleasure in what it is that you're doing, so you don't want nobody to tell you that you're wrong. Because your flesh like it, so you react in a violent manner. And well, not a violent, but in a hostile manner. Because a lot of times you know that they're right, but you don't care. You ain't really trying to hear that. Brethren, if any of you do err from the truth and one convert him, let him know that he which convert the sinner from the error of his way shall save a soul from death and shall hide a multitude of sins. That's what the purpose of the rebuke is. Why I say whom he loved, he correct. He loved it. What Jeremiah is speaking in the 15th chapter is he loved this man enough to correct him so that you could get his substance and his spoil, and that you could spoil his substance and his treasures, and you ain't have to pay for it. Come back to Jeremiah 15. And then we got to go back to Jehu then. We in verse 17. He said, I sat not in the assembly of mockers, nor rejoiced. I sat alone because of thy hand, for thou hast filled me with indignation. And we know the master was alone. There was nobody with him. All the apostles fled. Why is my pain perpetual and my wound incurable, which refuse to be healed? Will thou all be together unto me as a liar, as waters that fail? Therefore thus saith Yahuwah, if thou return, then I will bring thee again, and thou shalt stand before me. If thou take the precious from the vial, thou shalt be as my mouth. Let them return unto thee, but return not unto them. And he said, I will make now. Let's sit back and look at Philippians chapter 3 when he look at talking about taking the precious from the vial. We have to sit back and look at the precious things of Elohim who have to be removed from this vile body. We want to go from being vile to being precious. And that's going back to putting off the body of sin. And like I say, it's not hard if that's what you want to do. If it's not what you want to do, it's going to be very difficult. 3 and 15. 3 and 14 actually of Philippians. At the end of the day, I don't care what it is you're doing. If you want to be a good parent, if you want to be a good spouse, if you want to be a good business person, if you want to be a good friend, if you want to be a good servant of Elohim, you know what I'm saying? a good cook, or whatever the case may be. If that's what you want to do, you're going to do whatever it takes and whatever's necessary to get that done. Most of the time when the situation come up and it's too hard, people flee. They don't really want to do what they feel is hard. Because really, the things that we feel is hard, it's going to cause you to have to confront things about yourself that you might not want to look at. And that's why people flee, to be honest. When they run up against things that they deem to be a little difficult, because they're going to have to look inwardly and see certain things about themselves. And sometimes people look inwardly and they don't like what they see. They don't like what they see. So instead of sitting back and looking at what they see and to either cast those things away, they just flee. Especially when you're dealing with the word is going to cause you to see all the ugly warts about yourself that nobody else can know and nobody else can see. That's why a lot of people don't change, or they pretend to be righteous even though they live in contrary. You know what I'm saying? Why he say they wanted the esteem of men, but inwardly full of dead men's bones and hypocrisy and iniquity. Because I want to appear to be righteous, but I don't want nobody to see what's really inside of me. Because I don't even want to look at the things that are inside of me. I don't even want to deal with them. I was talking to a brother today, man. I'm not going to go into no great detail, but he was telling me the situation that he was in. And then as he was describing it, we then came to what was the root of the matter of the situation that he was in. And if you sit back and you look at whatever traits, attitudes, and behaviors you have, there's a root cause from it. You know what I'm saying? There's a root cause from it. And because of that root cause from it, it causes you to react in certain situations in a particular way. And a lot of times you don't want to look at them and deal with them, to either talk to somebody about it or talk to yourself about it or whatever the case may be. And that's why we have a problem. That's why I believe that's why so many black people suffer from depression. And then when we turn around, black people don't like to deal with the fact that so many black people suffer from depression. When you look at, you live in depressed neighborhoods, you live in broken homes, you know what I'm talking about? You live in abject poverty. There's many factors of why black people would be depressed. You know what I'm saying? But we act like that's a white people thing, that we can't be depressed. Then when somebody's showing signs of depression, we mock them or tell them, oh, nigga, you'll be all right. You'll be straight. Because 9 times out of 10, that nigga's depressed. And you forcing him to have to deal with what he's depressed about. And he don't want to deal with it. So he shove it. He treats you nonchalantly and casts you to the side because you making me deal with stuff I don't want to deal with. You know what I'm saying? Because we don't sit back and look at that. We go to most of our neighborhood. Our people doing bad. They living bad. You know what I'm saying? They seeing things as a child in their household they ain't got no business seeing. Do you know what I'm talking about? How do you think a small child, if he growing up in a particular... Sick of some of them kids in Chicago, man. They seeing niggas getting murdered every day. Now what you think that's going to do to a child's mind? He see that every day. Do you know what I'm saying? What you think it's going to do to a child's mind? He see prostitutes every day. Or he see his daddy beating on his mama. Or he see his mama getting high. Or he see his mama running women in and out the house. Or he see men in and out the house. Or he see his daddy running women in and out the house. Or his daddy not there. Or his mama's not there. Do you know what I'm saying? For whatever reason. It's a multitude of things that affects people in a particular way. And it causes them to behave in a certain fashion, and we don't deal with it. We suppress it and repress it. Then it come out in certain behaviors later on. Imagine how somebody sit back and say, every person who ever said they loved him hurt him. So they going to sit back and they going to move in every dealings and relationship they have with people, expecting for someone to do them wrong. For them, it's not if, it's when. Now imagine somebody's disappointment if they ran across somebody and they felt like this person wasn't going to hurt them, and they did. Do you know what I'm saying? And they did. Because people don't sit back and look at how certain things affect people. Because depression is a real. You got some people feel they have problems. They feel like they weren't loved as a child, and that stuff carried with them to this day. Or they felt like they could never please their parents. Nothing that they ever did was good enough. And then that stuff gets projected on people as they get older. And the things that people did to them as a child, they thinking the people that they dealing with when they get grown, they're doing it to them. And the people not doing that to you, you're expecting that. That's your outlook because that's what you got as a child. So when somebody says this or does this, that's your automatic response and thought process because this is what you're used to. So you automatically think that. You know what I'm saying? I can say, man, shoot, I praise y'all for it, man. My people ain't really do none of that. All they told us is you can do whatever it is that you want to do. You know what I'm saying? But you got to put in the work to do it. When I was wrong, They'll beat a nigga behind and then tell me why I was wrong and then let me know what I needed to do to correct it so I wouldn't be wrong again. Like, my people just didn't beat me and then just like you beat. You know what I'm saying? They would drop a foot off in your behind and then explain to you why they dropped the foot off in your behind and then what you needed to do to not make that mistake again, for you not to go down that pathway. You know what I'm saying? They wouldn't say you dumb or you're stupid. They let me know you better than that. You smarter than that. I didn't raise you like that. You were not taught that. You know what I'm saying? My people showed me and Lil Muffin love from the time that we were born. Regularly. You know what I'm saying? They made sure that we were knowledgeable and read books, and my mama taught me at an early age to research information. Don't wait for nobody to tell you nothing, that you can go find it out on your own. You know what I'm saying? That nobody don't owe you nothing, and that you going to have to hustle and grind and work for whatever it is that you want, and can't nobody tell you that you can't do nothing. The only person that can stop you from doing something is you. You know what I'm saying? And we were poor. We ain't have nothing. You know what I'm saying? Like dead real. Dead poor. And another time when we see a lot of our people, you don't be realizing how poor people be. Sometimes when you was a child, you don't even realize how poor you are till you start to get older. You know what I'm saying? And we'll sit back and look at that. You know what I'm saying? And to be raised that in the fashion of how my auntie and my mama taught me and raised me, that's why my confidence is the way it is, because they engendered that. They put that in me. To believe in yourself. And don't worry about what nobody else think or say about you. To believe in yourself. If you don't believe in yourself, then you already got a problem. You know what I'm saying? And you got to believe that you can walk in the way of Elohim. If you don't even believe that you can walk in it, if you don't have that confidence in your Elohim first, and then the confidence in yourself that this is what you want to do and you're going to hold fast to it, then you're not going to do it. You know, confidence is a rare thing amongst black people. Most black people have false confidence because it's really just to cover up their insecurities. So they project really a more sense of arrogancy. You know what I'm saying? It's not really, because most confidence is quiet. You can tell a person just believe in themselves. You can tell it by how they talk, how they move. They just confident in themselves. We're supposed to be confident in yourself. You're supposed to believe in yourself. You're supposed to. And you're supposed to believe in yourself to know what you should receive and what you shouldn't receive. Nevertheless, Philippians chapter 3 and verse 14. He said, I press towards the mark of the prize of the high calling of Elohim and Yahushua HaMashiach. Let us therefore as many be perfect, be thus minded. And if in anything you be otherwise minded, Elohim shall reveal even this unto you. Nevertheless, whereunto we have already attained, let us walk by the same rule, let us mind the same thing. Brethren, be followers together of me, and mark them which walk, so as you have us for an ensample. For many walk, of whom I've told you often, and now tell you even weeping, that they are enemies of the stake of Mashiach. And I'm telling y'all that, man. Y'all got to understand that and know that. Stop being lame. Just because a nigga say they believe in Yahushua, just because they scream in Yah, just because they say they know they're an Israelite, does not mean they're not an enemy of the state. An enemy of the state is a nigga who is an enemy of self-sacrifice, an enemy of being a servant, an enemy of putting down his mortal body and shedding off the body of sin to be a new creature to walk in Elohim. Nigga, an enemy of that state. They not trying to get on that state. They coming just like when the master had to tell Peter, get behind me, Satan, for thou savorest the things that be a man and not an Elohim. When he told him that he had to die, and Peter said, I will not, that won't happen to you. So Peter was carnal at the time. He didn't understand and didn't know. There are many niggas who are enemies of the state. That's why I told you, if a nigga can come up to you and convince you to sin, or persuade you to sin, or even bring sin to you, they're an enemy of the state. They're not your brother. They don't love you. They don't care about your soul. And I don't care how much you can say you love them or care about them. You a fool. Because if the book say you're supposed to rebuke your neighbor to not suffer sin upon him, and that's the love of Elohim, and a nigga bringing sin to you, how do they love you? How? Explain that to me. Let's go smoke some rocks. This nigga love you? I know we ain't supposed to have sex and we not married. Let's do it anyway. This nigga love you? The book says a sentence against an evil worker is not executed speedily, therefore it's privy in the hearts of sons of men to do evil. So a nigga could do something with you that know that you could be killed on the spot for it, but they love you. A nigga will put you in a situation to damn your soul, but they love you. So either you retarded, you know what I'm saying, or you living in a fantasy world. It's harsh, But it is what it is. If somebody love you, they wouldn't want you to die. Nobody who love you ain't gonna put no AK-47 in your hand and tell you, let's play Russian roulette. Nobody who love you gonna convince you to commit suicide, give you some sleeping pills and say let's eat all of them, or mix them with alcohol. Nobody who love you is gonna put your life at risk. But we don't look at it like that when we dealing with sin and iniquity and your soul. Nobody who loves you is going to put your life at risk, whether it's your eternal life or your natural life. Nobody who loves you is going to do that. On the flip side, somebody who loves you will put their life on the line for you. That's what the master did. He loved you enough to say, I'll die for you. There's people on a natural level. I know I've been in the street. There's people who done put their life at risk to do something in an illegal fashion for somebody that they didn't have to do because they loved that person. They were willing to risk themselves for them. And risk their freedom or risk their life for somebody. I don't even think most people even know what love is to even recognize that somebody love you. Because we be looking for the wrong things. You know what I'm saying? We don't even recognize. It's like this here, right? Yahushua say he don't pray for them, he pray for the world. Somebody who prayed for your soul, who can be heard or is righteous, this person care about you because they entreating Elohim on your behalf. You know what I'm saying? And especially if some people be like, man, you'll pray for me. I'm like, nigga, I already do that. You don't have to ask me to do that just on general principle. It's one thing if you dealing with something specifically and you say, hey, pray for me, brother. I need you to pray for me. That's a little different. You know what I'm saying? But if you got a love for people who you say you deal with in the word, you would be praying for them anyway. Anyway. You know what I'm saying? You love somebody, you would be imparting spiritual information unto them. You would be imparting some manner. You would show the people that you love them. That's why people don't recognize when somebody loves them. Because most people look at love as catering to their needs. Or their one of us in needs, but their wants and their desires. Which really just show a nigga just selfish. Because in my personal opinion, dealing with Western thought process and what we in, our concept of love is very selfish. Very, very selfish. Elohim's concept of love is selfless. You know what I'm saying? Like that article I ran across, I shared it too, where that lady was like, people getting married and people leaving because they want to be, I'm not happy. Like, marriage is not really necessarily about your happiness. Because you're supposed to be serving your mate, and your mate's supposed to be serving you. Which in turn, that should be deriving your happiness. All you thinking about is you. And that's what comes in it. That's what we're told in this society. Do what makes you happy. You got to be happy. This, that, and the third. And you're always thinking about you. You're not thinking about serving nobody. When your Elohim told you to be a servant. He said, he that's greatest among you, let him be a servant. Say, the elder shall serve the youngest. All throughout the text. To serve. To serve. To serve. And that's the manifestation of the love of Elohim. To serve. And ain't nobody telling nobody that. Because the love is to be selfless. But you know, that's what happened when you deal with Europeans. Nevertheless, he say, whose end is destruction, whose Elohim is their belly, whose esteem is in their shame, who mind earthly things. For our behavior is in Shamahim, from whence we also look for the Savior, the Master, Yahushua HaMashiach, who shall change our vile body, that it may be fashioned like unto his esteemed body, according to the working whereby he is able even to subdue all things unto himself. So when we look at taking the precious from the vile, that man went into that grave vile. Because he was sin. Sin is violence, a reproach. And he came out precious. Because he came out, now that you say a Ruach don't have flesh and bones as you see me have. He had that esteemed body of which we desire. And to be able to pull that precious from that vow, you have to put that vow off. Now we went off the beaten path a little bit. Let's swing back to 2 Kings. All that was just dealing with, we went through all that just to talk about, because you know we got to deal with Jehu finna kill this nigga in his household. Praise y'all for the word, nevertheless, though. Pray that you consider those things. You know, it is what it is, though. It is what it is. We in chapter 9. Where did we stop at? We in verse 7. And these are things that we can see just looking at looking at all these kings, all these malice, looking at the split of the kingdom and all these things that are encaptured and encapsulated in it. That even in the midst of the people's disobedience, Yah avenged his prophets, those who were righteous and had done no wrong. He avenged them. And all these people being led astray because they didn't want to take the rebuke or the love of Elohim when he corrected them for their Baal worship. Y'all's long suffering is long. It's long. I'm talking about this man have a lot of patience with men when he really could go ahead and crack your skull immediately. Hold on, we need 1 Kings something else. I forgot about that. I'm sorry, y'all. 1 Kings chapter 20 verse 35. First Kings chapter 20 verse 35. Let's get Ahab being judged. I don't know if we hit that already. We finna hit it now though. And a certain man of the sons of the prophets said unto his neighbor in the word of Yahuwah, Smite me, I pray thee. And the man refused to smite him. I remember this here. This is hilarious to me. Then said he unto him, Because thou hast not obeyed the voice of Yahuwah, behold, as soon as thou art departed from me, a lion shall slay thee. And as soon as he was departed from him, a lion found him and slew him. That look here, right? That man got a commandment to punch a man in his face. Cuz said, no, I'm going to read it to you again so you can peep what he told him now. And a certain man of the sons of the prophet said unto his neighbor in the word of Yahuwah. So this y'all dropping the word. This y'all telling him, Smite me, I pray thee. And the man refused to smite him. So cuz said, I'm not punching you. He directly disobeyed Yah. And he died for it. And he said, but he killed him because he wouldn't punch him in the face. No, he killed him because you didn't do what I told you to do. Then said he unto him, Because thou hast not obeyed the voice of Yahuwah, behold, as soon as thou art departed from me, a lion shall slay thee. And as soon as he was departed from him, a lion found him and slew him. Then he found another man and said, Smite me, I pray thee. And the man smote him, so that in smiting he wounded him. And I take you back to Mashiach when they were smiting him and they wounded him and they marred his face more than any man, like Isaiah 52 told you about. Because they definitely smited him all in their face. They ain't hold back. They definitely smited him. Excuse me. So the prophet departed and waited for the Malach by the way and disguised himself with ashes upon his face. As the Malach passed by, he cried unto the Malach and said, Thy servant went out in the midst of the battle, and behold, a man turned aside and brought a man unto me and said, Keep this man. If by any means he be missing, then thou shalt life be for his life, or else thou shalt pay a talent of silver. And as thy servant was busy here and there, he was gone. And the Malach of Yasharal said unto him, So shall thy judgment be, thyself hast decided it. And he hasted and took the ashes away from his face. And the Malach of Yasharal discerned him that he was of the prophets. And he said unto him, Thus saith Yahuwah, because thou hast let go of the hand of a man whom I appointed to utter destruction. Therefore thy life shall go for his life, and thy people for his people. And the Malach of Yasharal went to his house heavy and displeased and came to Samaria. Now what he talking about is his battle with Abinadab, which we haven't read that particular thing, and y'all will, and we'll come back and deal with that particular thing. But he was supposed to kill Abinadab, and he didn't do it. He let him stay alive, and he let him do that because of what he was going to judge him for later. Since you didn't want to take this man's life, I'm going to substitute your life, and I'm going to kill you. See, you seen it with Saul, you was looking at it with Ahab, and like I said, we'll come back to 1 Kings 20 and go back over that, y'all willing. It does not pay to not do what this man tell you to do. He told the man to punch a man in the face, the man ain't do it, he died for it. Because that was sin. He disobeyed a direct commandment and died for it. Ahab was supposed to kill Benadad, and he died for it. Cost him his life. This man was doing all that Baal worship and all that there, and he said, look at the part what he said to him again. Just look at what he said right here in chapter 20. Just look at what he told him. Just look at what he told him. Right here in verse 40. He says, Thy servant was busy here and there, and he was gone. The Malach of Yasharal said unto him, So shall thy judgment be, thyself has decided it. Because you didn't want to do what I told you to do, that's what your judgment going to be, because that's what you decided on based upon your own actions. See, that's why he said he'll reward a man according to his work shall be. Your judgment, you decide your judgment. You decided. You want to commit sin? Then you decided that you're going to die. You want to walk in righteousness? Then you decided that you want to live. The judgment is on yours. You decided. Revelation chapter 22. So you got to ask yourself tonight, what judgment are you after? What judgment are you after? 22 and 11. What judgment are you after? What is really important to you? He that is unjust, let him be unjust still. He which is filthy, let him be filthy still. He that is righteous, let him be righteous still. And he that is Kadesh, let him be Kadesh still. See, Ahab was unjust, so he stayed unjust. He decided it. So his life had to go for Benadad's life. Since you want to commit sin, your life got to go for Hamashiach's life. It's just that simple. Somebody got to be substituted in. And why would we go that route? I don't understand why we would go that route. Back to 2 Kings chapter 9. I don't understand why we would go that route. I don't understand what we getting from going that route. But we go that route because we in the flesh. And the things of the flesh, it's more pleasing to us to say, you know what? I'm going to do this here. I know it's wrong, but he'll forgive me. I think that's where our mind be at. He'll forgive me. He got to forgive me. He's a merciful God. That man ain't got to do nothing. That man ain't got to do nothing but stay Elohim and execute judgment and righteousness in the earth as he see fit, when he see fit, how he see fit, where he see fit, when he see fit, to whom he see fit to execute it upon, whether it be for their good or whether it be for their evil. That man don't owe you nothing. And we need to start getting out of that mind frame to think he owe you something. And you need to stop getting out of that mind frame to think you got time. You better be consistently diligent in your service to Elohim while today is still today. Because you might be gone. I be like this here, right? And I done thought like this throughout my entire life. I don't know if any of y'all thought. Ain't none of y'all ever sat back and thought about like, boy, one day you going to be dead? And I done had these type of thoughts. Not on some negative stuff. Just like the reality of it. Like one day I'm going to die. I'm talking about throughout the course of my whole life. Like it's just pretty like, dang, boy, one day you going to die, man. Like, what is it going to be like when you die? You know what I'm saying? One day you're going to be dead. You're not going to be here. Man, that done was like this crazy, right? I ain't even, like I say, man, I wasn't raised around my pops or nothing like this here, man. But when I was at that funeral, I'm sitting there thinking to myself, like, dang, this nigga really dead. Like, this nigga's really dead. Like, he's not coming up out of that casket. It's over, like he's really dead. We at that cemetery, I'm sitting there looking like this man's really dead. He's really dead. He's not here anymore. That's just a body now. No breath in it. He's dead. He's really dead. You know what I'm saying? When my auntie died, that didn't click in my mind like, hey, she really dead. You know what I'm saying? It was like she gone, but it wasn't the fact like she really dead. Like she's really, really, really dead. Do you know what I'm saying? I thought about my own mortality my whole entire life. I know some people don't think about that stuff when they're young, because I know people always say young people have that thought process of you're going to live forever, can't nothing happen to you, you never die, stuff like that in the third. But I always was cognizant of the fact that one day you're going to die. You're going to die one day. So then when the word come around and you seeing that you have an opportunity to live even in death, I had to go all the way out after that because I don't want to die. And not want to die in a natural level, but understanding what death is, I don't want to die. Because we all, for the most part, are going to see the grave. Not everybody. Clearly some of us going to be alive when the master come back, y'all willing. But most of us probably going to see the grave. But we want to be resting in our beds in shalom, knowing that we will rise again and meet him in the sky upon his return. You know what I'm saying? You got to ask yourself, do you want to die? Because clearly if you commit sin, you clearly are telling him that you want to die. You clearly telling him that death is a pleasant thing for you and you desire it. If you abstain from sin, then you're telling him that life is imperative unto you. And that's what you want. Now I say, man, I don't know if none of y'all, I think about that all the time. Especially the older I get, you're going to die one day. You know what I'm saying? Like you sit back and look at something, it'll be something, it don't happen, it hasn't happened often. It'll be days where I thought about, boy, this could be your last day on the planet. It's been time where I done thought about like this could be your last day, man. You could die today. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, man, I don't know if y'all think about that type of stuff, but dead serious, I know I do. Like, boy, this could be your last day on the planet, man. You could be out of here. You say, well, you better make them count. And I ain't talking about make them count by living it up and doing whatever you want to do and accomplishing the stuff on your bucket list, you better make sure your soul is correct with your Elohim, that your soul might be preserved in the last day. Because somebody just died somewhere on this earth just now. Somebody just died, just like somebody was just born. Somebody just died. You know what I'm saying? That stuff got to be in your head. Somebody just died and now their soul waiting on judgment. 2 Kings 9:7. Thou shalt smite the house of Ahab thy master, that they may avenge the blood of my servants the prophets and the blood of all the servants of Yahuwah at the hand of Jezebel. For the whole house of Ahab shall perish, and I will cut off from Ahab him that pissed against the wall, and him that is shut up and left in Yasharal, and I will make the house of Ahab like the house of Jeroboam the son of Nebat, and like the house of Baasha the son of Ahiah, and the dogs shall eat Jezebel in the portion of Jezreel, and there shall be none to bury her. And he opened the door and fled. And we know we done already read what happened to Baasha, killed them all. We already read what happened to Jeroboam, wiped them out, blotted out their name from under Shamahim. Blot your name out from the book of life because of your idolatry and your rebellion. He say, I will not. But he say, blot me out of your book. He say, he that sin against me, I blot out my book. You got to sit back and look at sin, get your name blotted out the book. How you going to be in the book of life doing things that pertain to death? Sin is death, not life. So how can he write your name in that book? If a Mashiach lives, he say, why are you still looking for the living amongst the dead? He's not here. He is risen. That's what the book says. And we members of his body and he is alive. How you going to be in him and be dead if you commit sin? He said, all my members are written in the book. All his members are alive, which means they doing the things that pertain to life to have their name written in that book. You can't be committing sin and have your name written in that book. It's a book of life, not death. The soul that sin, it shall die. You sin it, your name can't go in the book. Verse 11. Then Jehu came forth to the servants of his master, and one said unto him, Is all well? Wherefore came this mad fellow to thee? He said unto them, You know the man and his communication. They thought he was crazy. They said, It is false. Tell us now. And he said, Thus spake he to me, saying, Thus saith Yahuwah, I have anointed thee Malach over Yasharal. Then they hasted and took every man his garment and put it under him on the top of the stairs, and blew with trumpets, saying, Jehu is king. So Jehu the son of Jehoshaphat, the son of Nimshi, conspired against Joram. Now Joram had kept Ramoth Gilead, he and all Yasharal, because of Hazael, Malach of Syria. But Malach Joram was returned to be healed in Jezreel of the wounds which the Syrians had given him when he fought with Hazael, Malach of Syria. And Jehu said, If it be your minds, then let none go forth nor escape out of the city to go tell it in Jezreel. So Jehu rode in a chariot and went to Jezreel, for Joram lay there, and Ahaziah, Malach of Yehuda, was come down to see Joram, what we read earlier. And there stood a watchman on the tower in Jezreel, and he spied the company of Jehu, and he came and said, I see a company. And Joram said, Take a horseman and send to meet them, and let him say, Is it Shalom? So there went one horseback to meet him, and he said, Thus saith the Malach, Is it Shalom? Jehu said, What hast thou to do with Shalom? Turn thou behind me. And the watchman told, saying, The messenger came to them, but he came not again. Notice that what the thing that the statement he said is, What do you have to do with Shalom? This is what goes back to, you sit back, 1 John 3 and 8. This is what this go back to. The watchman coming back, this wicked man who running with these wicked kings, and he said, Is it peace? And he said, What you know about that? What do you have to do with Shalom? What do you have to do with destroying the authority attached to chaos? What do you have to do with the destruction of sin? That's why I say you above your father the devil, and the lust of your father you will do. A lot of people talking about they want peace and they want peace, but there's no rest for the wicked. You can't say, Is it Shalom? And then you around here doing things contrary to that. What do you have to do with that? You can't have nothing to do with that if you around here committing sin. Because remember, he said ain't no peace to the wicked. You wonder why you can't get no rest. You can't get no rest. You can't get no comfort because you are wicked. And you're not trying to change it. He said, He that commits sin is of the devil. For the devil sinned from the beginning. For this purpose the son of Elohim was manifested, that he might destroy the works of the devil. And we come back and we can see that that's what Jehu was coming ready to do to Joram and the rest of these niggas. And that's destroy the works of the devil. Because they had been working things contrary to the word. So he has to come through and destroy them. See, I'm going to be honest with you, right? A lot of people don't want to sit back and be at the point of the saying that they of the devil. You're not going to have too many people open their mouth and say they are the devil. No matter what they got going on, no matter what they doing, who going to open their mouth and say, I'm of the devil? Not too many people. Even though they doing his lust and doing his desires. You know, Yehu's name means Yah is he. He coming through to execute judgment on. Yah gonna come and execute judgment on those who got to have judgment executed upon their head. He's got to avenge the blood of all these prophets, and he's got to avenge the wickedness that these men have wrought and destroy their works. How they working the works of the devil? Because Joram and Ahaziah had the people worshiping idols. They had them worshiping devils. 2 Corinthians chapter 10, man. This is what he had them doing. So now y'all been provoked to jealousy. He's got to destroy that work. And that's what he's sending the master to do at the end, is destroy that work. The beast and the false prophet going to have the people worshiping devils, worshiping idols. I'm sorry, it's 1 Corinthians chapter 10. My apologies. (10 and 14). That's what Jehu coming through to do. He got to destroy the works of the devil. Because they doing the lust of their father. That's what it say. His son Elohim was manifested to destroy the works of the devil. Jehu was manifested to destroy the works of the devil, which was in the personification of Ahaziah and Joram and what they were doing. Now look at Ahaziah doing. Joram wounded. I got to go holler at him. He got sympathy for him. Sinners love other sinners. That's why he went to go comfort him. Say, wherefore, my dearly beloved, flee from idolatry. Remember what we've been dealing with when it comes to idolatry is rebellion. I speak as to wise men, judge ye what I say. Notice he said he speak to wise men. The cup of blessing which we bless is not the communion of the blood of Mashiach. The bread which we break, is it not the communion of the body of Mashiach? For we being many are one bread and one body, for we are partakers of that one bread. Behold, Yasharal after the flesh, are they not they which eat of the sacrifices, partakers of the altar? So he's saying, speaking to wise men, if you know the law, you know that. That's why he say, behold, Yasharal after the flesh. They would know the law to know that you partake in those sacrifices at the altar that you would bring. This is how you can sit back and you can see that this was a mixed amount of people in this congregation when he's writing this letter, because he made it be known, Yasharal after the flesh. Because a Gentile would not have anything to do with that or even know anything about what he's talking about. He say, what say I then, that the idol is anything, or that which is offered in sacrifice to idols is anything? But I say that the things which the Gentiles sacrifice, they sacrifice to devils and not to Elohim, and I would not that you should have fellowship with devils. That's what we have to sit back and realize. Not only sacrificing the things the devils and not have fellowship in that aspect, why are you having fellowship with people? Ye of your father the devil, and the lust of your father ye will do. He that commits sin is of the devil. Why would you have fellowship with devils? He said, listen to what he said, right? I would not that you should have fellowship with devils. Now, that's a hard thing. Why would we be joined and have communion with a devil? Why would we do that? What type of sense does that make? And that goes back to what we were talking about. If somebody loves you, then they're not going to have you to have fellowship with the devil by having you commit sin. They're going to want you to, anybody that's your friend is going to push you to Elohim. Any man that is courting you as a woman, he's going to push you to Elohim. He's not going to push you to him. He's not going to push you to sin. He's going to push you to be closer to Yah. That means that man loves you. Any woman who loves you is going to hold you accountable that you stand as a man of Elohim as you're supposed to. Like I say, any friend of yours is going to hold you accountable to stand to Elohim because they love you. Because they love you. They want you to be the personification of he who died and rose again, that you might be created in his image and to be a partaker of the covenant and to give you power to become the sons and daughters of Elohim. We don't have that in our mind because we want to try to mix natural and spiritual love together. And you know you can't have mixed garments on. You know you can't have mixed drink. That's an abomination. You can't mix spiritual and natural. It's not going to work. You got to be one or the other. Can't be lukewarm, hot or cold. Verse 21. You cannot drink the cup of the master and the cup of devils. You cannot be partaker of the master's table and of the table of devils. Do we provoke the master to jealousy? Are we stronger than he? And that goes back to what we were talking about when he said a fire burning in his anger and a fire kindled to the lowest hell, because we had provoked him to jealousy with our idolatry. And that's what Ahaziah and Joram had done. They had to provoke this man to jealousy with their idolatry. Therefore, because they have provoked him to jealousy, he has to execute judgment upon their head. And who is he is coming through to execute it. That being Jehu. Pay attention to that. You do these things that are contrary to his word. You provoke him to jealousy. He going to come see you. Because now you're giving his esteem to another. Maybe it's you. Maybe it's your idol. Maybe it's your friend. Maybe it's your wife. Maybe it's your husband. Maybe it's whoever you're courting. Maybe it's your children. Maybe it's your job. His esteem is going to somebody else. He's not too keen on that particular matter there. He doesn't really care for that. Nevertheless, we in verse 19 of 2 Kings. 2 Kings 9 and 19. Then he sent out a second on horseback, which came to them and said, Thus saith the Malach, is it Shalom? And Jehu answered, What hast thou to do with Shalom? Turn thee behind me. And the watchman told, saying, He came even unto them, and come not again. And the driving is like the driving of Jehu the son of Nimshi, for he drive furiously. And Joram said, Make ready, and his chariot was made ready. And Joram Malach of Yasharal and Ahaziah Malach of Yehuda went out, each in his chariot, and they went out against Jehu, and met him in the portion of Naboth the Jezreelite. Now remember, they meeting him in the vineyard that Ahab took from this man and got killed behind false witness. This is where they finna meet him at. And these two men finna die right there. And it came to pass when Joram saw Jehu, he said, Is it Shalom? Jehu answered, What Shalom, so long as the whoredoms of thy mother Jezebel and her witchcrafts are so many? He said, How can you have Shalom? Isaiah 57:20. How can you have Shalom when all these whoredoms and their witchcraft is multiplied? Your sins are multiplied and you talking about some peace? How? You don't get no peace. Isaiah 57 and 17. He said, For the iniquity of his covetousness was I wroth and smote him. I hid him and was wroth. And he went on frowardly in the way of his heart. And I seen his ways and will heal him. I will lead him also and restore comforts unto him and to his mourners. I create the fruit of the lips. Shalom, shalom to him that is far off, and to him that is near, saith Yahuwah, and I will heal him. But the wicked are like a troubled sea when it cannot rest, whose waters cast up mire and dirt. There is no shalom, saith my Elohim, to the wicked. This is why he coming through to bash this man like that, because it ain't no shalom to the wicked. You don't get no rest. You don't get no peace. You just don't get it. And come back to 2 Kings. That's why he told him that. How you going to have shalom and your whoredoms and your witchcrafts are many? That's why you're going back when we were looking in Revelation, though we didn't go all the way through it. That's why Babylon got smashed. You don't get no shalom. You whore. You're multiplying witchcrafts and whoredoms all throughout the earth, and you think you get peace? You don't get any peace. And he's steady asking for it, knowing how wicked he is. Verse 22 again. And it came to pass when Joram saw Jehu that he said, Is it Shalom, Jehu? And he answered, What Shalom, so long as the whoredoms of thy mother Jezebel and her witchcrafts are so many? See, now when you sit back and you look at it, right, he's already been judged. It's over for him. You know what I'm saying? It's over for him. He don't get no love. He don't get nothing. It's a wrap. It's done for him. Y'all put your hands on 2 Chronicles 22, because we finna slide around in just a moment. Joram turned his hands and fled and said to Ahaziah, There is treachery, O Ahaziah. Jehu drew a bow with his full strength and smote Jeroboam between his arms, and the arrow went out of his heart, and he sunk down in his chariot. Then said Jehu to Bidkar his captain, Take up and cast him in the portion of the field of Naboth the Jezreelite. For remember how that when I and thou rode together after Ahab his father, Yahuwah laid this burden upon him. Surely I have seen yesterday for the blood of Naboth and the blood of his son, saith Yahuwah, and I will requite thee in this plat, saith Yahuwah. Now therefore take and cast him into the plat of ground according to the word of Yahuwah. But when Ahaziah Malach of Yehuda saw this, he fled by the way of the garden house, and Jehu followed after him, and said, smite him also in the chariot. And they did so at the going up of Gur, which is by Ablim, and he fled to Megiddo and died there. And his servants carried him in a chariot to Jerusalem and buried him in the sepulchre with his fathers in the city of David. And in the 11th year of Joram the son of Ahab began Ahaziah to reign over Yehuda. Let's swing over here to 2 Chronicles 21 and look a little bit more of this young man here. 2 Chronicles 22. We already looked at 21 with Joram. So we'll swing to 22 to look at Ahaziah and his story over here. So we can be completed with this young man. Well, chapter 23 got a little bit more, but we'll save a little bit of that. Save a little bit of that. 22 and 1. And the inhabitants of Jerusalem met Ahaziah his youngest son, Malach and his steed. For the band of them that came with the Arabians to the camp had slain all the eldest. So Ahaziah the son of Joram, Malach of Yehuda, reigned. 42 years old was Ahaziah when he began to reign, and he reigned 1 year in Jerusalem, and his mother's name was also Athaliah, the daughter of Omri. He walked in the ways of the house of Ahab, for his mother was his counselor to do wickedly. His mama is the one who told him to do wicked, but what else would she do? She's Omri's son, I mean she Ahab's son. Ahab people. Jeroboam people. And that also shows you again what we were talking about the other day. Evil communications corrupt good manners. If you got somebody worldly and carnal and wicked and unrighteous around you, then they will give you advice to do contrary to the word. They'll make you feel good about it. They'll make you feel good about it. And they'll have you doing wickedly, and you'll find yourself going backwards and not forward. He said, wherefore he did evil in the sight of Yahuwah like the house of Ahab, for they were his counselors after the death of his father to his destruction. Proverbs 13 and 20. You just sit back and realize that, right? Had the wrong people in your corner, had the wrong people telling you what to do and where to go, boy, it'll get you cut off. Proverbs 13 and 20. Listen what he tell you, right? I'll make it about verse 19 though. The desire accomplished is sweet to the soul, but is an abomination to fools to depart from evil. He that walk with wise men shall be wise, but a companion of fools shall be destroyed. Evil pursue sinners, but to the righteous good shall be repaid. That's why Jehu had to pursue after Ahaziah and Joram, because they evil, so that's what pursue sinners. But if you a wise man, you're going to be wiser if you walk with wise people. But if you walk with fools, you're going to be destroyed. You want to listen to a sinner and let them be your counselors, you're going to end up just like Ahaziah, Joram, Ahab, Omri, Baasha. You're going to end up just like them. Destroyed. That's what happened to all of them. Jeroboam, because they had wicked counselors. They walked with fools and they were destroyed. They walked with fools and they were destroyed. They listened to fools and they were destroyed. People can play with it if they want to, but you see what the text say, you can take it in, soak it in, and do what you will with it. I'm going to read verse 4 again, let it sink in your brain. Wherefore he did evil in the sight of Yahuwah like the house of Ahab, for they were his counselors after the death of his father to his destruction. This is why he tell you, even communications corrupt good manners. That will be to your destruction. That's why we reiterate it so often. Sinners will be your destruction. If you listen to him, if you follow with him, if you fellowship with him, he said, I would not have you have fellowship with devils. He that commits sin is of the devil. You are of your father the devil, and the lust of your father you will do. He was a murderer from the beginning, and a liar, and the truth ain't in him. He walked also after their counsel, and went with Joram the son of Ahab, Malach of Yasharal, to war against Ahaziah, Malach of Syria at Ramoth Gilead, and the Syrians smote Joram. And he returned to be healed in Jezreel because of the wounds which were given him at Ramah. And when he fought with Hazael, king of Syria, and Azariah, the son of Joram, Malach of Yehuda, went down to see Joram, the son of Ahab, at Jezreel, because he was sick. And the destruction of Ahaziah was of Elohim, by coming to Joram. For when he was come, he went out with Joram against Jehu the son of Nimshi, whom Yahuwah had anointed to cut off the house of Ahab. So we can see that his destruction is because he went and fooled with this nigga, and it was of Elohim. See, most people, when things go bad, people say, oh, the devil busy. The devil trying to steal, kill, and destroy. Not sitting back realizing that if you are walking contrary to the word, he tell you in the law, Leviticus 26, he said, if you walk contrary to me, I'll walk contrary to you. So he'll be contrary to you when you contrary to him. And the things that you do, it could actually be Yah crashing you upside your head for what you doing. Because he had them built up so much wrath from Elohim that there was no chastisement, and you cry out for your sin. I'm going to kill you now. And it came to pass that when Jehu was executing judgment upon the house of Ahab, and found the princes of Yehuda and the sons of the brethren of Ahaziah that ministered to Ahaziah, he slew them. See, if Ahaziah wouldn't have went down there messing with Joram, he wouldn't even been killed. This is again is showing you how evil communications corrupt good manners, and when you join yourself to fools, you get destroyed with them. Because Ahaziah was not of the house of Ahab. Joram was. Ahaziah is the Malach of Yehuda. He's not from that. He's not from that line. But he got taken out because he decided to have fellowship with devils. He sought Ahaziah, and they caught him, for he was hid in Samaria, and brought him to Jehu. And when they had slain him, they buried him, because they said, he is the son of Jehoshaphat, who sought Jehu with all his heart. So the house of Ahaziah had no power to keep still the kingdom. But when Ahaziah, the mother of Ahaziah, saw that her son was dead, she arose and destroyed all the seed royal of the house of Yehuda. But Jehoshaphat, the daughter of the Malach, took Joash, the son of Ahaziah, and stole him from among the king's sons that were slain, and put him and his nurse in a bedchamber. So Jehoshaphat, the daughter of the Malach of Joram, the wife of Yehuda the priest, for she was the sister of Ahaziah, hid him from Ahaziah, so that she slew him not. And he was with them hid in the house of Elohim 6 years, and Ahaziah reigned over the land. So now, of course, you should be able to tell with them hiding Joash, that's the same way like when Herod came through slaying all the children in the land, and they hid the master. But now we see that we have a Malchah ruling over the land, because Ahaziah's mother is ruling over the land. I don't know if any of you were aware that a woman ruled in Yasharal, but there it is right there. A woman actually did rule over Yasharal. It's Ahaziah, and as you already know from what we've read in verse 2 of chapter 22, she was a wicked woman. She was a wicked woman, but she ruled over the land for a period of time. And she ended up getting murked too, but yeah, I guess we'll finish that on now. I might as well do it, because it is 10:52. I can knock that out. Chapter 23. So you get all this information. And in the 7th year, Yehoiada strengthened himself and took the captains of hundreds, Azariah the son of Joram, Ishmael the son of Johanan, Azariah the son of Obed, and Messiah the son of Adiah, and Elishaphat the son of Zechariah, into covenant with him. And they went about in Yehuda and gathered the Levites out of all the cities of Yehuda, and the chief of the fathers of Yasharal, and they came to Jerusalem. And all the congregation made a covenant with the Malach in the house of Elohim. And he said unto them, behold, the Malach's son shall reign, as Yahuwah hath said of the sons of David. This is the thing ye shall do. And we dealt with this before a few months ago. A third part of you entering in on the Shabbat of the priests and of the Levites shall be porters of the doors. A third part shall be at the Malach's house, and a third part at the gate of the foundation. And all the people shall be in the courts of the house of Yahuwah. Most High willing, we'll revisit this when we go to the genealogies. We're not going to do it right now, though. But let none come into the house of Yahuwah save the priests, and they that minister of the Levites, and they shall go in, for they are Kadash, but all the people shall keep the watch of Yahuwah. The Levites shall compass the Malach round about, every man with his weapon in his hand. Whosoever else come into the house, he shall be put to death. But be ye with the Malach when he come in, and when he go out. It's the same way that John 10 tell you that Yahushua bring you in and lead you out. You need to be with the king. He said, well, I am, my servant will be also. You need to be with this man when he go in. You need to be with this man when he come out. You need to cleave to this man hard. He that is joined to the master is one flesh. So I say, shall we take the master's body and join him to a harlot? Elohim forbid. We need to put down all these things that are contrary and do just what he said right here. Keep the watch of the house of Yahuwah, which is to guard and to observe. Guard the word and keep the watch of Yahushua. Keep the house of Yahuwah watch. Guard and observe the word so you can deliver yourself. Because he been entered into a covenant with this man to do this. Because they got this wicked woman ruling over the land. And they finna get ready to take her out. So the Levites and all Yehuda did according to all things that Yehoiada the priest had commanded, and took every man his men that would come in on the Shabbat, and with them had to go out on the Shabbat, for Yehoiada the priest dismissed not the courses. Moreover, Yehoiada the priest delivered to the captains of 100 spears and bucklers and shields that had been Malach David's, which were in the house of Elohim. And he said all the people, every man having his weapon in his hand, from the right side of the temple to the left side of the temple, along by the altar and the temple, by the Malach round about. Then they brought out the Malach's son and put upon him the crown and gave him the testimony and made him Malach. And Yehuda and his sons anointed him and said, Elohim saved the Malach. And I said, we're going to come back and deal with that. But you see what they did? He said they took him and they gave him the testimony. When Yahushua went in that grave and he came out to be king, he had done gave him the testimony, and he had imparted unto his apostles to impart unto us. I told y'all the other day I was at something, that lady said Yahushua was the greatest network marketer to ever live, and she wasn't lying, because he poured himself out into his apostles, and his apostles went out, who, like I said, he was confident in his product, he believed in his product, and he pushed it upon other people for them to sign up and to bring other people in. And then they bring in other people, and then they bring in the other people. Because that's all, to be told, a preacher is. He is a network marketer. He is marketing for the kingdom of Shamahim, that a man might want to be a partaker and then proclaim the good news of the Besorah Yahushua HaMashiach, that another man might want to be a partaker of the kingdom of Shamahim. Now when Ahaziah heard the noise of the people running and praising the Malach, she came to the people in the house of Yahuwah. And she looked, and behold, the Malach stood at his pillar at the entering in, and the princes and the trumpets by the Malach, and all the people of the land rejoiced with the sounds of trumpets, and singers with instruments of music, as such as taught to sing praise. Then Ahaziah rent her clothes and said, Treason, treason. That's the exact thing the scribes and Pharisees did when the master came in Jerusalem. They felt like it was treason. They say, tell these people to stop. What that is? Come over here to what that is. Let me see what chapter that is. I don't know. Come to the book of Luke. I want to say chapter 21. I could be mistaken. I could be mistaken. Yeah, I was mistaken. Hold on, I'm going to pull it out in just a moment. That's how the scribes felt. They told them to tell them people to start screaming out. They felt that to be treason. There we go. Luke 19, my apologies, and 28. Luke 19 and 28. And when he had thus spoken, he went before, ascended up to Jerusalem. And it came to pass, when he was come to Bethpage and Bethany at the mount called the Mount of Olives, he sent two of his disciples, saying, Go ye into the village over against you, in which at your entering ye shall find the colt tied, wherein yet never man sat. Loose him and bring him hither. And if any man ask you, Why do you loose him? Thus shall you say unto him, Because the master have need of him. And they that were sent went their way, and found even as he had said unto them. And as they were loosing the colt, the owners thereof said unto them, Why loose ye the colt? And they said, The master have need of him. And they brought him to Yahushua, and he cast their garments upon the colt, and they set Yahushua thereon. The same thing we were seeing with the kings, with Jehu, and the same thing you seeing here with Joash. And as he went, they spread their clothes in the way. And when he would come nigh, even now at the descent of the Mount of Olives, the whole multitude of the disciples began to rejoice and to praise Elohim with a loud voice for all the mighty works which they had seen, saying, Baruch be the Malach that come in the name of Yahuwah, Shalom and Shamahim, in esteem in the highest. And some of the Pharisees from among the multitude said unto him, Master, rebuke thy disciples. He answered and said unto them, I tell you that if these should hold their shalom, these stones would immediately cry out. And when he was come near, he beheld the city and wept over it. Well, I guess we'll read that part. Saying, If thou had known, even thou at the least in this thy day, the things which belong unto thy shalom, but now they are hid from thine eyes. For they shall come upon thee, that thy enemy shall cast a trench about thee, and compass thee round, and keep thee in on every side. And they shall lay thee even with the ground, and thy children within thee. And they shall not leave in thee one stone upon another, because thou knew not the time of thy visitation. And you notice how he said those things were hid from their eyes because of the hardness of their hearts and the sin they were walking in. But you can see that the Pharisees looked at it to be treason the same way as Ahaziah did. He ain't no king. You need to rebuke them. That's how the wicked feel, because anytime a righteous person come in, they feel like they taking their shine and they taking their spot, and they begin to get belligerent, and that belligerence turns to rage, and rage turns to murder. To be honest with you, come on back to Kings Chronicles. My apologies. As we've been traversing through all this stuff with these kings, one thing that you notice is that the people that were leading our people definitely led us to err, and that the leaders of our people were desperately wicked. And it's a shame how many kings were just that wicked. Just that wicked. We've only ran across 2 righteous kings so far, Asa and Jehoshaphat. Everybody else was wicked. Verse 14. Then Jehoiada the priest brought out the captains of the hundreds that were set over the host, and said unto them, Have her forth of the ranges, whoso follow her, let him be slain with the sword. For the priest said, Slay her not in the house of Yahuwah. So they laid hands on her, and when she was come to the entering of the horse gate by the Malach's house, they slew her there. Jehoiada made a covenant between him and between all the people and between the Malach, that they should be Yahuwah's people. Come over here to 1 Peter chapter 1. Just know that when John 14:16 first, and then 1 Peter chapter 1. That just hit my head. It said, once they slew this woman, all these people sat down and they made a covenant to be Yah's people. Remember, they doing the works of the devil, so the works of the devil got to be destroyed. So when we look at John chapter 16 and verse 8, it says, when he is come, he will reprove the world of sin and of righteousness and of judgment. Of sin, because they believe not on me. Of righteousness, because I go to my Father and you see me no more. Of judgment, because the prince of this world is judged. When we look at Ahaziah, or we look at Joram, or we look at Ahaziah, they end up being judged. Now Satan is judged, or the devil is judged, so that we can be delivered, who for all the lifetime of our life have been in bondage to death and things of that nature, like Hebrews tell you. So when this man has been destroyed, or this woman has been destroyed, now we can enter into a covenant and become Yah's people. Let's look at 1 Peter chapter 1. Because now sin has been destroyed. And once that sin has been destroyed, we can now be joined to our Maker. We can't become Yah's people until sin is destroyed. And we need chapter 2, not chapter 1. 2 and 7. Unto you therefore which believe he is precious, but unto them which be disobedient, the stone which the builders disallowed, the same is the head of the corner. And a stone of stumbling and a rock of offense, even to them which stumble at the word, being disobedient, whereunto also they were appointed. But you are a chosen generation, a royal priesthood, a Kadesh nation, a peculiar people, that you should show forth the praises of him who have called you out of darkness into his marvelous light, which in time past were not a people, but are now the people of Elohim, which had not obtained mercy, but now have obtained mercy. Now we sit back and look at it. Now we have became the people of Elohim. We were able to become the people of Elohim because of Talia being killed. And then the people entered into a covenant. Same way that Mashiach being killed allowed us to enter into a covenant to become the people of Elohim. We have to sit back and look at that death always seems to bring about a covenant being made in a lot of instances when we look at things in the Word. And remember, Talia's name means afflicted of Yahuwah. So when we look at her that was afflicted of Yahuwah being killed, and Mashiach was afflicted of Yahuwah, would go back to what we read in Jeremiah 15. This what allows, and we able to be able to take part of the substance and the treasures and to spoil them, which allow us to become the people of Elohim, because now we've entered into a covenant with them. And that's what we have to sit back and look at. If we can be afflicted of Yahuwah and to lay our lives down, that we can be partakers of the treasures and the riches and be his people. Come on back so we can get out of here. We're in verse 17. This chapter almost over with, and I'm let y'all slide on out the way. Then all the people went to the house of Baal and break it down and break his altars and his images in pieces, and slew Mattan the priest of Baal before the altar, just like with Babylon. We're going to tear all that stuff down and slay that false prophet. And Jehoiada appointed of the officers of the house of Yahuwah by the hand of the priests the Levites, whom David had distributed in the house of Yahuwah, to offer burnt offerings of Yahuwah, as it is written in the Torah of Moses, with rejoicing and with singing, as it was ordained by David. And he set porters at the gates of the house of Yahuwah, that none which was unclean in anything should enter in. Revelation 21 and 27. You see what he said, right? He said he set watchers. Let's make sure that's right. He said he set porters at the gates, that nothing unclean wouldn't come in there. Go get Revelation 21 and 27. Think about that. Think about what he's telling you. This is what they did, to set porters at the gates that nothing unclean would enter in. That word porter is a gatekeeper, a watcher, borderline janitor. That's what it say. I show off, say a janitor, but basically a watcher. Gonna watch over the gate. Nothing unclean can enter in. Matter of fact, Psalms 101 before Revelation 21 and 27. Just on general principle. Psalms 101. I just felt like adding that in. I didn't have to add it in. I just felt like adding it in. Psalms 101 and 5. Whoso privily slander his neighbor, him will I cut off. Him that have a high look and a proud heart will I suffer. My eyes shall be upon the faithful of the land, and they that they may dwell with me. He that walk in a perfect way, he shall serve me. He that work deceit shall not dwell within my house. He that tell lies shall not tarry in my sight. I will early destroy all the wicked of the land, that I may cut off all wicked doers from the city of Yahuwah. They were not finna let nothing unclean or nothing vile enter into that city. That's why he said you got to pull the precious from the vile, like we read in Jeremiah. And like he said that he going to take our vile body and make it like unto his esteemed body, because this body here is unclean. This flesh is unclean. Can't get in the house. And you got to look at that on the natural level or the spiritual level. My apologies. You can't enter into Yahusha with this natural body on. You need to put it off. He say, put off the old man, which is corrupt according to deceitful lust, and put on a new man, which is made after true righteousness and Kadesh. You got to put that old man off. You thinking you wondering why you can't get to certain spots with the word, because he can't let you in the house because you unclean. You ain't put it off. Revelation 21, 27. Got to put it off. And there shall in no wise enter in anything that defile, neither work abomination, or make a lie, but they which are written in the Lamb's book of life. 22 and 14, since we here though. I'll make it 22 and 12, since we over here. And behold, I come quickly, and my reward is with me, to give every man according as his work shall be. I'm the Aleph and the Tau, the beginning and the end, the first and the last. Baruch are they that do his commandments, that they may have right to the tree of life, and may enter in through the gates into the city. For without are dogs, and sorcerers, and whoremongers, and murderers, and idolaters, and whosoever love and make a lie. You got to remain outside the house because you're not clean. You can't come in. This man is not going to let, if he wasn't going to let you defile his natural house, you think he going to let you defile his son? No. 2 Chronicles 23. No, praise y'all. It's a lot of things to like I say, it's a lot of things to be gathered from looking at all these kings. Like I told you, and it's a long process, and we're going to do it till it's complete. And we look at every single solitary thing that every last one of these men did. And then we got to double back for Saul them, because some of them same parallels of the split of the kingdom are there with Saul. In verse 19, I'll read it again. He set the porters at the gates of the house of Yahuwah, that none which was unclean in anything should enter in. And he took the captains of the hundreds, and the nobles, and the governors of the people, and all the people of the land, and brought down the Malach from the house of Yahuwah. And they came through the high gate into the Malach's house, and they set the Malach upon the throne of the kingdom. And all the people of the land rejoiced, and the city was quiet after they had slain Ahaziah with the sword. Come on back over here to Revelation 19 or 18. He said everybody was quiet and everybody rejoiced because the wicked woman had been brought down. And we will end it right here with the same thing. I think what I'm thinking about is actually in Jeremiah. Yeah, I think it's in Jeremiah. Let me look at Jeremiah 51. What I'm thinking about. It's talking about Babylon in Jeremiah 51, but I think that's where it's at. What I just hit my brain. What I'm thinking about. Hold on. Let me see if that's where we're going at. Dang, I can't recall what it said. That just hit my head too. It said the whole earth is at rest and is quiet. It might have been in Revelation then. No, I had to find it. I can't recall what it's at. I have to dig that out, but I know it's in there. But the whole earth will be at rest and at quiet when the beast is taken down and the false prophet is taken down and the whore of Babylon is taken down, because wickedness will no longer rest in the earth, but righteousness will reign. But hallelujah for Yahushua, and where we start right there, about 11:10.